like to call the meeting to order at this time. I believe we do have a quorum present, so I'm sure we still may have some folks showing up, but I think we have at least the minimum number to get the meeting going. It's great to see everyone. How you doing? Haven't seen you for a few months, right? Everybody's good, I hope. Right. Can't believe this year is done. It's October. Anyway, I'd like to call to order the meeting for October 21st, 2021, the TPA Governing Board meeting. The Palm Beach TPA is conducting this meeting both in person and virtually using the Zoom webinar platform. Instructions to join the virtual meeting as well as contact information for assistance are provided in the published meeting agenda. Translation, particularly for public comments, can be made remotely or they can be made in person by submitting a public comment card. So following with that, now, do we have Mayor Wilson on the line?
No, Mayor.
All right, because I have a note here saying that he was going to provide leaders at the invocation. So Mayor Wilson's not here. Is anyone here like to volunteer for that? Please do, sir.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for allowing us to gather once again to conduct the people's business, not just for our various cities, but also for our entire county, our entire community. And as we do this, as we perform these duties, we pray for wisdom, for a servant's heart, and for humility. And I'll do my best Mayor Wilson impression, but I'll say that I'll say also that we come together once again with bowed heads and humbled hearts, knowing that some of us, though we may not know each other that well, are not strangers, but just friends who have not yet met.
Thank you very much. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, can we do the roll call attendance and just add folks as they come in, indicating that they are present?
Yes, Mayor.
Thank you.
So at this time, I'm only going to ask the members attending in person to respond by saying here when I call your name. Please remember to unmute your microphone. There's a button on the base, and when the top is red, it means you're on and the virtual attendees can hear you and it can be on the record. And if you're here on behalf of an representative, if the alternate can please state their name. Steve Wilson, Yvette Drucker. Here. Andy Thompson.
Thankful to be here.
Stephen Grant. Shelley Petrolia. Joelle Flores. Jim Koretsky will be absent. Christopher McVoy.
Here.
Joni Brinkman.
Here.
Catherine Waldron will be absent. Chelsea Reed. Here. Melissa McKinley.
Here.
Maria Marino.
Here.
Maria Sachs.
Mac Bernard on behalf of Commissioner Sachs.
Greg Weiss. Douglas Lawson. Michael Napoleon.
Here.
Christina Lambert.
Here.
Joseph Paduzzi. Robert Weinroth.
Here.
Fred Pinto.
Here.
We have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, now we got that done. Are there any modifications to the agenda this morning?
Yes, Mr. Chair. So a member of the TPA board has requested permission to participate remotely. We have Mayor Joelle Flores that is participating remotely. He has a sick child at home and it prevents him from coming in person.
Okay, is there anyone on the board who is concerned about having the remote participants participate in the meeting? Seeing none? All right, so then do I have to take a vote on that, or is just the fact that there was no one had
It can just
objections?
be for,
You can declare that it's
All right,
acceptable if
so
no one has an objection.
So the remote attendees will have full participation in the meeting. I assume they can hear us out there, right?
yes.
Okay, good. All right, item D is general public comments. I stated earlier, there are three ways to make public comment. One is written comments submitted here, submitted online, comment cards submitted for those who are present, and comment cards, verbally written comments provided by people in attendance remotely. Do we have any advanced comments from the public?
No, Mr. Chair.
All right, do we have anyone out here who would like to make public comment?
I do not have any hands raised.
All right, I do not have any comment cards submitted from the public, but does anyone here from the public who would like to comment at this time? Seeing none, then we're closing then general public comments at this point. We have a special presentation this morning from Brightline, an update on rail safety, and we're going to be asked to participate in that pledge for rail safety, as well as have a photo opportunity. So can we invite Ben Perret, please come forward, sir? Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. Appreciate the opportunity to speak in front of the board, and for those who aren't here, I welcome you virtually. Always appreciate the support of the TPA and certainly the integration between our team and yours and this board. Let me start. I guess that this will be my clicker here. Point two. Okay, perfect. Thank you. One too many. Yeah, I'll make a brief presentation and then I'm happy to take any questions if there are any. A lot of big things happening at Brightline. Certainly excited to update everybody on that. Yesterday we made a big announcement, which I think is great for both Palm Beach County as well as Brightline as a whole. And we will reopen our service post-COVID on November 8th. So I'm excited to do that. For anybody who is a past rider and who's been on our trains previously, we will have a friends and family reopening the week of November 1st. You should be getting emails on that. So we'll start a little bit early for those who have ridden in the past to test our systems and to make sure everything is ready to go within our stations and within our new team. Over the past several months, we've hired more than 200 new employees. Many of those are from Palm Beach County, Fort Lauderdale, and as well as Miami-Dade. And so we're excited about that on November 8th. Next week, we will make a new announcement, and I'll talk about in a couple slides on a new mobility as a service platform where we will begin to pick up people within a certain radius of our station. As you guys know, a lot of updates have happened over the past 18 months. Even though our service has been shut down with Brightline, we've continued to move forward on construction. The biggest element of construction is our phase 2 expansion from West Palm Beach to Orlando. Those 170 miles will complete a total of a 235-mile system. It represents more than $4+ billion of investment. It's more than 60% complete and encompasses 4 different zones. One of those zones is already totally complete through the airport. And we push out videos and messages via social media as well as our email lists repeatedly and routinely, in which you can see some of the updates and construction progress that we've made. Today, we have over 1,300 employees that work on that project each and every day. It never slowed down during COVID, which is positive. 2 additional stations that are within different areas of development, both in Aventura and Boca. If you go past our Aventura station today, you will see the framework of our station is essentially built out and nearly complete. Expect that system to be online and that station to be online next week. Speaking with Councilmember Thompson beforehand, just on Boca, excited to announce in Palm Beach County, Boca is moving forward. Where we are in Boca is our lease required 2 projects to be completed before we could move forward on the station. One was the community garden and the other was a temporary parking lot. Both of those have been completed. And we expect to move forward on construction in the next couple of months. Just a couple quick updates. Disney Springs, we announced at the end of 2020 that we will put a station on Disney property. No timeline specific to that. And then as it relates to Tampa, we are in the final stages of negotiating with Fdot on the corridor that will exist within the I-4 highway, which we expect to have an announcement relatively soon on those negotiations being completed. As we open our station, obviously COVID and the pandemic are still taking place. All of our stations will require, as do airports, both guests and teammates to be masked. We have made it a point of hiring that all of our teammates be fully vaccinated before our service relaunches. Our COVID protocols, the best part about Brightline to me is that I think that we were leading the industry as it relates to forward-thinking, technology-based travel, and those only become more important as we look to travel post-COVID. Our environments in our stations are cashless, they are touchless, our bathrooms are touch-free hygiene. So all of those protocols, I think, set the baseline for future travel. We're also putting into place a couple of new things. Most importantly, our markets will now be all touchless and congregation-free. And what that means is they are autonomous. People will be able to walk into our grab and go markets where there was previously congregation, pull anything out, and we will automatically charge your credit card when you swipe it. It's a pretty cool, interesting technology. We'll have new food and beverage offerings within all 3 of our stations, a new signature restaurant called Mary Mary, which is named after 2 of the 3 wives of Henry Flagler. It'll have incredible it'll have incredible food and beverage choices. And in Miami, we'll have a brand new food hall, courtesy of a new partner as well. So in-station experiences will be great. We'll be launching our new mobility as a service platform next week. And here's what that means. We will pick passengers up within 5 miles of our station and drop them off door to door. And we'll do that through a number of different means, most importantly through eco-friendly electric vehicles. We'll have options as electric golf carts, private Teslas, and shared shuttle services. So all of those will happen within our app. And if you download our app today, which is available, on December 1st, you will be able to plug in your final destination of whichever station you're going to and have a ride ready and waiting for you when you arrive at your destination station. Yep.
On that, you're a man after my heart, first of all. I just want
Thank
to say
you.
that.
All right.
But that offering will be available at all of your stations or select stations?
All 3 of our stations, and eventually when we open in Boca and Aventura, it'll be available there as
That's
well.
outstanding.
Yeah,
Okay.
we over the last 18 months in polling and focus grouping our guests, we recognize that 35% of individuals who had tried our train said that they would ride it again if there was
If they
an
can
easier
get
way to
there.
get there.
Yeah.
And even though our stations are at the heart of the downtowns, if guests have to think for more than 5 seconds on how they're going to get there, they're going to hop in their own car and head out. So we're going to make it as easy as possible for them.
I think you're groundbreaking and leading the way of the future, because we believe the key to increasing a robust public transportation network across this county includes some capability of getting folks from their front door to where these capabilities are and then back. So I applaud you. You're firm on this.
Thank you. And also I would say it's important to note that all 3 counties, we've met with Palm Beach as well. We will integrate public transportation into our app. So that'll be a touch, a few taps, and people will be able to access all of that, both from a payment standpoint and actually a trip standpoint. So
Excellent.
as I mentioned earlier, we've hired 200 teammates. The one thing I didn't add is that we have increased our wages to $18 an hour plus a sign-on bonus. We started early enough in the process that we have not had issues in hiring teammates, but we continue to hire those. And I think the other part that's important is we've partnered with local organizations and community organizations to make sure that our teammates represent the areas in which we serve. And that's important to us. And we also have upskilling, upward mobility within our company that we will be training for along the way.
Just one question from a business model standpoint. I think it's very good that you recognize the marketplace. You want to get the best and brightest, so to speak. So you raise the wage level. But did that force you to have to move that increased expense into your pricing models?
No, the pricing models will remain relatively the same. I mean, there will be an upcharge after an introductory period with the door-to-door service. But I think that you'll see when we come online, we'll come online with introductory fares of about $10 to $15 for short routes, about $25 for longer routes. And then as we continue to see adoption, we'll increase those back to where they were pre-COVID.
Do we have a question, Melissa?
Commissioner Weinroth is first.
I'm sorry, you were first? I didn't see it. All right, thank you. I didn't see it.
Thank you. I certainly echo the chair's remarks. I mean, first mile, last mile has been an imperative for all of our public transportation, and to go 5 miles is certainly going above and beyond. What kind of an upcharge do you contemplate going forward once the introductory period is over?
It'll be built into the ticket price, but so for our premium service is where you'll have the option for a private car. We expect that to be cheaper than an Uber or a Tesla to remain competitive, or a Lyft to remain competitive. But let's say it's going to be approximately $10 to $12 within that range.
That's terrific. Are we going to have to wait in Boca until the station is fully constructed, or when the platform is ready, will you be able to pick up passengers?
That's a good question. My understanding, and I should come back to you in case I don't know the full details, is that when the station is complete and certified, only then will we pick up passengers.
Living within 5 miles of your station, I'm certainly very anxious to get that station up and
As are
running.
many, yeah.
Some of us during the recent FACT meeting were privileged to meet Mr. Goddard, your president, and I found it very interesting as far as he made the presentation and talked about how they're reconfiguring the station in West Palm Beach. He also mentioned that it was a $45 million per mile to do the construction. And I find that number interesting, and I'm going to make a presentation probably next meeting about potentially the boring company, which is about 10 million per mile. So makes that awfully competitive. But again, I think that this is terrific. I think your first mile, last mile is going to make a lot more of our residents willing to get on the train. And that's what we want to do, get them off of I-95,
Right.
especially after this commute this morning.
I agree. Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I'll join you in complaints, only it's from the east to the west. So if you had the Brightline app before the shutdown, do you have to reinstall it? Because I tried to update it and it says unable to install Brightline. The app is no longer available in the App Store.
Yeah, it is available. Trust me, I downloaded it again this morning. I would delete the app that you had previously and re-download it.
That's it.
That's a good question, though. Thank you for that. And you can book tickets today for when we launch service. I will share this with everybody. This is great social media content, and certainly shows the size of the investment that we're making within the state. And, you know, that's a lot of fun facts and interesting things to either go over with your children at the dinner table or to post on social media. My kids love this slide. And then update on phase 2 work. There are 2 railroad crossings still within Palm Beach County that will need to be completed. That is in Tequesta Drive and County Line Road. I don't have a specific timeline for those, but we will continue to stay engaged with members of the community on that. Track and bridge work will continue primarily with the Loxahatchee Bridge. And then our quiet zone work is expected to be completed by the end of 2022. As you know, south of 15th Street, there already exists a quiet zone. A quiet zone is not something that Brightline comes up with. It's something that is requested by the community, and we implement the necessary construction and safety requirements. But in 2022, north of 15 to the county line of Jupiter will the quiet zone will extend to. So that is what we have to look forward to as it relates to additional construction. And as far as Orlando construction, we've made a tremendous amount of progress. Back in April, May, we held our 50% milestone press conference with both Mayor Buddy Dyer and Mayor Jerry Demings up there. You can see tracks laid throughout different parts of the state, certainly throughout the airport. These are some of the most latest and greatest. We expect that to be substantially complete by the end of 2022 for service to begin shortly thereafter in 2023. And I look forward to inviting all of you on the first trip. Future stations I've already talked about. The only thing I would touch on is we continue to make progress in Las Vegas and Southern California. And I always like to tell folks in South Florida that, because it all started here. And even though you guys, might not make the trip out there, it's important to know that this entire movement of high-speed rail, privately funded, started here in South Florida. Many thanks to a lot of you. I'm happy to take any other questions, but I would be remiss as we walk into the safety, the photo op and taking the safety pledge, letting everybody know a number of the safety initiatives that we have put in place and certainly continue to work on. The Buzz Box is one of our treasured components of our safety campaign. It's a mobile barber shop that we take to both homeless shelters and youth centers, as well as to different events around the community when asked. And in exchange for a free haircut, you just got to take a rail safety pledge. It's just a unique physical component that allows us to educate those about rail safety. If you have an event that you think that it would be fun for, just reach out to us and we'd be happy to do that. We've partnered with South Florida school districts, both on sending material as well as the Buzz Box. We've done the same with law enforcement on outreach in the Buzz Box. We're continuing to pilot new projects. In fact, I just tested and just saw a red light camera project that will be placed throughout Palm Beach County, as well as a new drone program that we are testing, which is pretty incredible, as well as cameras that can actually see from a quarter mile up to a mile and will allow us to tell our drivers, our locomotive engineers, when people have breached and are inside our corridor when they shouldn't be. We're testing all of these things, and as they come online, we'll certainly want to show those off to you and to share that with those in the community. Pretty soon, we will implement construction on our 2017 Chrissy grant, which will represent the final aspects of about $6.5 million of additional investment within safety along our corridor. So we're doing everything that we can to ensure that incidents are brought down as much as possible. So with that, I don't know if there's any additional questions before taking the pledge, but I'm happy to answer and address what I can.
I don't see any cards up. Good. Oh, I'm sorry. There. Now I see one.
There you go. Could you advise us of what the future is for stops north of West Palm Beach?
Yep, I appreciate that question. Stops north of Palm Beach, we are obligated with our legal settlement with the Treasure Coast within 5 years of revenue service beginning in Orlando to place a station in the Treasure Coast. We do not have a site selected at the moment, but those plans and discussions are in the works. And we have long, been in contact and looked at Cocoa Beach and the Space Coast area as a potential stop as well. And as I mentioned earlier, we have a agreement with Disney for a station outside on the west side of the airport. And then, finally completing the system would be a station in Tampa.
Anyone else? Okay, so now what do you want us to do now?
All right, let's take the safety pledge. So in front of you, you guys should have a pledge. I ask you to submit these, pass them around, make sure everybody sees them as many times as we can remind people to stay off train tracks, the better. I'm just going to ask you to stand and then we'll take a quick picture, Nick, however best to do that. I'm not quite sure. And just repeat after me if you can. Of course you can. All right. I pledge to stay off train tracks.
I pledge to stay off train tracks.
I will never chase the train.
I will never chase the train.
I will never trespass on tracks.
I will never trespass on tracks.
It's illegal and dangerous.
It's illegal and dangerous.
I will always look both ways before crossing the railroad.
I will always look both ways before crossing the railroad.
Thank you. And I would encourage you guys to sign this and to take a picture on social media. And if you want, we'll take a picture right up front up here.
Should do a boomerang.
Oh, we should do it together.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
These want to take a picture. Let's do a quick picture.
And Mayor, while you're making it back to your chair, I do want to note for the members that I have already uploaded this presentation on our website. I know a few of you were trying to take pictures when he was clicking through, so I did post it already, so you could download it. And I do want to also note for the record that Commissioner Weiss did join us at the beginning of that presentation. I just didn't want to interrupt Ben during his presentation.
Okay. We're at the point in agenda item F for comments from chair and member comments. My only comments are, as I said earlier at the opening of the meeting, I'm so glad to see everyone here. I missed you all for the last few months. We have a lot of work ahead of us, remainder of this year and as we move into next year, as you all know. But let's just, now that we've kind of taken a breath, let's put our shoulders back behind the wheel here and move forward with the things that we know are important to get done. With that said, who would like to make a member comment?
Mayor, before someone makes a comment, I do want to note for the record that Mayor Grant has joined us in person.
Thank you. Very good. Commissioner Weiss?
Well, thank you very much. Couple things. One is who's responsible for the work that was being done on Dixie Highway? They've open cut. I mean, it looks like every 3 or 4 feet between Claremore and Belvedere. And I think now they've started working south of Belvedere, and the patches that they put in, I mean, you have patches that are literally within a foot of each other and then they redo them again, or they put a new one in, and they're not level. And you see cars trying to drive around them, and it's a mess. So I'm not sure who the responsible party is, if it's the city or the Fdot or.
I'm going to say from the sound of the construction activity that you're describing, that it's a utility permit that's being, the work that's being performed under a utility permit. It's a DOT corridor. And so we can investigate who the permittee was and make sure that the construction is properly corrected.
And then I'd like to make a suggestion. You know, one of the things we understand, you know, with traffic is of how we schedule things and asking like businesses to have flexibility and when their people come into work and so forth. And I realize that this meeting is at 9 o'clock, so puts us to start right as rush hour is still continuing here in downtown West Palm. Maybe the consideration to start at a different time when we're not in the middle of what everybody else is trying to do to get in here. So I'd like to make that suggestion to the board.
The work that he was referring to, is that within the city boundaries of West Palm Beach?
It is, yes, but it's construction activity being done on a state roadway within the city. Yeah.
Yeah, well, occasionally those issues do come up where the quality of work doesn't meet. Usually the local municipality would get involved with that and say, hey, red flag, come back and fix this. But Nick, we'll look into it and see what we can find out about that. Okay.
Mayor, you have a tent card over here and one over there. And one up here. So you have 3.
First, Mayor? Ladies first. Let her go first. Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman. Just a comment to that. I have reported that as well, Commissioner Weiss, and I'm awaiting some answers to that. So as soon as I hear something, I'll follow up with you. I ride that road on a Vespa and it's awful. I think I've visited the chiropractor after going over some of those bad patches.
That's not good.
I also wanted to second that. I know it wasn't a motion, but the idea about moving the start time. The city is being very innovative with new businesses that are coming into the city and requiring and requesting alternative work start and end hours. And so I think if we could accommodate that, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. One of the comments that I saw is that Saturday night, I was driving and road was blocked, and I spoke to our local officers and that someone was crossing the middle of the street and got hit. And this was along Seacrest Boulevard, and what I noticed mostly along Seacrest Boulevard is that there's plenty of lights that are out, and with daylight savings coming,
Street lights?
street lights.
Okay.
And so that's something that I want to know if this board is willing to, go reach out to their respective counties or county and cities to find out who's responsible to make sure the lights are on for our street lights. Because I know in the city of Boynton Beach, we pay FPL for them to have the lights.
Right.
However, they say, well, we're not responsible for them to be on or not.
They tell you that?
They said, well, you have to let us know that they're off.
Yeah, the way it usually works is the municipality has responsibility for notification, which means a citizen needs to call the city hall and complain, say, hey, the light's out. And then the city would then contact FPL, and we have an agreement that's been working pretty well, that when they commit to have those lights repaired within a 3-week window of us notifying them.
Okay.
But what I have found over the years is the time lag is, if we don't see it, one of our own people don't see the lights being out, if the citizen doesn't report it, there's a time lag before it actually gets repaired, so.
And so, yeah, that's kind of my comment, is that I would want to make sure that everyone understands that once we get the daylight savings, that we
Yes.
make
which
sure
is
that
in a
all
few
the lights
weeks.
are on.
Okay. Any other cards?
Yeah.
Commissioner?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I just want to thank our partners over at Fdot. I was in South Bay on Tuesday evening, and they are very excited about some of the workshops DOT is going to be sponsoring to talk to the community about the US 27 corridor there from the Hendry County line down south. But really, my comment today, since we recognized his absence today, Mayor Wilson and his wife, Lisa, of course, is my aide in the Glades office. Just wanted to explain their absence and ask for you all. He says prayers over us, so let's say some prayers over his family. Last month, many of you read in the paper, Lisa buried 6 of her family members, all died from COVID in a 2.5-week period. Shortly thereafter, Mayor Wilson lost his brother to a battle with cancer, and they are at the funeral in Boston as we speak. So if we could just say some prayers for their family.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow. Anyone else? Okay, I see no further requests for comments from the board, so I'm going to ask Nick to give us his executive director's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, everyone. Just a handful of items to share with you this morning. I do have a printed report on the dais, and I believe a presentation is coming on the screen. Yeah, first item that I want to make sure I ask you to mark your calendars for is December 6th from 1 to 4 in the afternoon. We have coordinated a South Florida Transportation Surtax roundtable discussion where we actually have folks from Miami-Dade as well as Broward County coming to talk about the challenges of getting a project list put together and pulling voter support for a transportation surtax, and then ultimately the challenges that have occurred since approval of the surtax in implementing the projects, but what they've also been able to achieve because of the transportation surtax. As a reminder, Broward County passed a transportation surtax in November of 2018, 1-cent transportation surtax. Miami-Dade County in the early 2000s passed a 1/2 cent transportation surtax that continues in perpetuity. The Broward County surtax is a 30-year ballot initiative that will terminate in 2049. Also wanted to acknowledge Vice Mayor Chelsea Reed from Palm Beach Gardens was selected for the Smart Growth America Champions Institute.
Wow, nice.
We're excited to have her participate in that. She's one of only 20 elected officials who are selected for that program nationally, and look forward to having her learn from that experience and share with us. I do want to ask you, we are trying to acquire a list of media release forms, or a library of media release forms. So they are on the dais. If you are so inclined to allow us to use your photographs in print media and content that we post digitally for the TPA, we would appreciate your approval of that content. And you can sign those media release forms and then just leave them with Margie on your way out. A couple more items on the next slide. for some reason, I don't have my paper copy. First item is Mobility Week. The DOT is in partnership with the statewide MPOs and local MPOs through the district office to promote all forms and modes of transportation. And we are asking you to help us promote that. We have a couple of activities that we're excited about. First, the Love to Ride Challenge is a month-long opportunity for cities as well as other private sector employees, county departments, and the TPA are going to all be competing with one another to see who can travel the most miles by bicycle. But I want to give you a hint. The way to win this challenge, this Love to Ride Challenge, is not actually to ride bicycle miles. It's to convince other people to ride. You get 10 points for every trip you take, plus 1 point per mile that you ride, but you get 50 points for encouraging someone else to go for a bike ride, and 100 points if that person has not ridden a bike in the last year. So talk to your friends, get them engaged and encourage them to get out. It's starting to be beautiful weather outdoors. It's a great time of year to get out and enjoy a ride on a bicycle. So the Love to Ride Challenge, the website is there. And then also we're doing an educational bike ride on the El Rio Trail together with South Florida Commuter Services and DOT on November 4th. And we hope that especially those folks in the South County who are available that Thursday morning might be able to come out and join us. Mr. Chair, I noted that we have a member question on that item.
Yes, Mr. Director, on the Love to Ride Challenge, you said that there would be 50 points or 100 points awarded for people who convince someone else to ride a bike. Does that include one's children?
It does, but they have to actually enroll in the app and they have to take a trip. So there's a minimum age. I tried that last year with my 9-year-old and I was excluded from getting any credit for her, even though we ride quite a bit together. But yeah, you can encourage members of your community, members of your extended family, and members of your immediate family as well.
I just wanted to point out that I got an email yesterday and this morning, there's a link. If you're already signed up, where if I have the Map My Ride app,
Oh yeah.
it will link it directly to it.
Yep.
And sync and then record your trips. So that's pretty cool. I don't remember that last year. So
Yes, that's right. They link with Strava, they link with Map My Ride. So if you are a frequent cyclist and you like to track your activities with some of those other ride monitoring apps, you don't have to do anything different once you've linked this system to your routine app. And I use Map My Ride and it automatically just uploads the trips and gives me a few points for them. I want to point out, we've talked a little bit about the Senate Bill 950, the bicycle regulations that were changed in state law this past legislative session, became effective July 1. We did a presentation to the board, the TPA board previously, and then we've also posted a video on our website and our YouTube channel. I encourage you to check it out, even share it on social media. I think it's fantastic. And I want to note that it was a video that we were able to produce in-house that promotes and highlights the changes and the expected behaviors for both drivers and bicyclists on our area roadways now that this state law has become effective. And then last item I'm going to highlight, there are others on the printed version, but that last item I'm going to highlight is that we are continuing to solicit feedback to the Okeechobee Boulevard and State Road 7 multimodal corridor study. The website is there. We are doing an ongoing virtual workshop where we're sharing content from the study that's been developed thus far, and we're seeking feedback from people who travel the Okeechobee Boulevard corridor. So any of you who came from the west this morning and are complaining about the traffic congestion that you may have experienced on Okeechobee Boulevard, that's the place we would like you to tell us why you're frustrated and what you think we ought to be doing about it, so that we can bring those kinds of meaningful proposals to the TPA governing board for action in the future. And Mr. Chair, that concludes my report.
Okay, any other questions? Yes, go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is actually a follow-on to what you were talking about, Nick, and that is, I'm wondering, I can't remember when the last time we really talked about technology and using technology in how we move vehicles and people around. I think it's, we spend a lot of time talking about lots of other things, but I think there's an opportunity by improving technology that we're using in our systems to make a better experience and be more efficient on what's happening and how that's being handled. So That's
Okay.
my suggestion.
Very good. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Reed, you hit your card up? Oh, okay. Any other questions on the report? Seeing none, then we'll move forward to the next item, which is a review of our consent agenda. Are there any members of the board who would like to pull an item from the consent agenda? Yes,
Removing H2.
H2. All right, the handbook. Okay, any other items? All right, seeing none, I look for a motion to approve the consent agenda minus item H2.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Margie, let the record show that the consent agenda was approved with the absence of item H2. And sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I removed H2. First, I'd like to thank Nick for making the decision not have the meeting last month. I think that was an appropriate decision given the Jewish holiday. I see that today we're being asked to add 2 additional holidays into the schedule, bringing us to, I don't know, 13 holidays on an annual basis. I think that we need to discuss this. Number one, I think that there's definitely no question that we should not have a board meeting on a holiday, whether it's a Jewish holiday or another religious holiday, and we need to be sensitive to that. I also acknowledge that some of our employees here at the TPA probably would like to take those days off, but I would suggest that rather than making these fixed holidays, that we think about making 2 floating holidays, because people are going to be looking to take off Good Friday and other religious holidays. And I don't think that we should say restricted just to Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. I also think that it creates another issue as you look at item 2, where it says that if the holiday falls on Saturday, that then the holiday is going to be celebrated on the following Monday, which really doesn't make sense with a religious holiday. So I think taking the Jewish holidays or any religious holiday out of the fixed holiday schedule, allowing for 2 floating holidays, and then with the permission of the executive director, acknowledging that an employee could take one of those 2 for any floating holiday, personal reasons or a religious holiday. I think that's a more equitable way of handling this situation.
Let me give you some context on the thought process behind this. We had a situation arise where we were getting calls from members of the board and even members who aren't members of the board, but who like to attend this meeting, saying that why are we having a board meeting and it's a religious holiday that happened to fall on that day. Here's the thinking, if it's a business day, if the TPA agency is operating and open for business that day, part of that business is the conduct of these board meetings, okay, that fall on that day. Now, if it's a holiday that says they're closed for business, then clearly there's not going to be a board meeting scheduled for that day because we're closed for business, which is really, there are other different religious holidays that operate that way, that they're a holiday and the county or agencies are closed for business that day. So therefore there's no business. So you don't say, well, we're going to have a normal business day, but we're not going to have our scheduled board meeting because it's a particular holiday, a religious holiday. That's just not good governance to structure it that way. Now, if the concern is too many holidays being scheduled, that you said was now would be up to 13. I'm not clear on how that's handled by making something floating. The point of this was, fine, if that's the sentiment of the board, then it should be a holiday, period. We're not open for business that day. And therefore, there's no question about whether or not we're having a board meeting because it becomes a moot point then.
I would respectfully suggest, Mr. Chair, that there's a difference between this body and employees. We come from various different municipalities and government agencies, and certainly there's no uniformity in the way each of the cities is operating. I think that whether we hold a board meeting or not should not be tied to the decision as far as the employees of the TPA. I think that they should be two decisions. One, I think that we should all acknowledge that we need to be respectful of the religious holidays with respect to the board meetings. That doesn't mean that the TPA's business cannot continue. I think also as a secondary issue, having been brought to light because of the issue of the board meetings, I think we should acknowledge that our employees of the TPA should have the flexibility to celebrate those holidays that are of importance to them, religious or otherwise, and those two floating holidays would take care of that situation. So again, I respectfully disagree with you on your point.
I'm just trying to get clarity. And I think you may have answered it in the second part of your comments. A floating holiday is a holiday that the employee has the option of taking or not taking.
In my definition, and I will look to Nick if he feels that this would be administratively cumbersome, the floating holiday would be up to an employee to request from the executive director. Executive director would then give the permission to take that holiday. That holiday would be over and above the 11 fixed holidays that are on the schedule. If someone did not take a floating holiday, it would not somehow carry over. And again, as I said,
Use it or lose it, in other words.
use it or lose it.
Okay.
And in the situation where a Jewish holiday or an other, and obviously Good Friday is never going to be on Saturday, but if a Jewish holiday fell on Friday or Saturday or Sunday, there would not be the situation where you are now moving a fixed holiday to Monday.
No, I agree with you on that point, actually. Here's the challenge we have, though. I mean, there are other religions, all right? We have other members who have different faiths that they follow. What if they start saying, well, what about me? You know, what about my holiday, my special holiday? And why should we have a board meeting then? And so we have no governance model in place that says when we do and when we don't do. That was the whole point of saying either it's a holiday for the agency or it's not. So how do we address that question that, well, only certain religions can claim and say, let's not have a board meeting for their religious days, and other religions are denied that? How do we address that?
I'm going to yield to the other members here to have conversation, then
All
I'll
right,
come back.
Who was up first? I don't know.
Commissioner Weiss, I believe.
Okay.
I just want to echo my support for Vice Mayor Weinroth's suggestion. I think it's totally within keeping. I think I understand, Mr. Chair, the points you made. I will point out to you, there are probably more Jewish holidays on our calendar than probably days in the year. However,
Really? Okay.
however,
Especially in September.
That's a miracle. Huh?
However, I will say though that both Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are the most
And holy days, yes.
holiest of days of our
Understood.
religion. And quite frankly, I will say it's totally insensitive to not understand I shouldn't say understand, but it seemed very insensitive. A lot of, this is the first time I've ever actually run into this situation. So I think other businesses are able to accommodate this type of situation, because it's not going to happen every year where it's going to fall on a potentially on a
Are we-
board meeting day.
Yeah, are we able to
However,
project
if there was somebody
when
else.
those days will come? Is that possible? Do we know?
We know
when?
for we know for 5,782 years.
You're that far
and
out?
going forward when it's going to happen.
Could you do this? Could you submit that information? I'm not saying the whole 5,000 years yeah, we'll do that. Let's project that out and see.
Mr. Chair, I think
gonna
we are
have-
getting a little
right?
sidetracked. I
Right.
think we should discuss the policy and then discuss the
Well,
application.
no, because the genesis of why we're having this conversation is because the way it came about, that we had a meeting canceled because of requests that came in was something that was not scheduled, something that was not thought out previously. My only concern, and I appreciate and agree with your point that you have made, absolutely. My only concern is we shouldn't be operating in a way that's inconsistent with what other people with other religions who are part of this organization may also say, well, what about me? What about my high holy day?
Well,
I'm just saying that's the point that I want us to feel comfortable with in terms of how we're addressing it.
I would
I'm
hope
not saying that we
would-
should have board meetings on those high holy days.
I would hope that we would be sensitive to other people's religious practices
Yeah, but
and their high
You have to have
holidays
some
as well.
ground rules in place and some boundaries, otherwise it could get totally out of hand. It become totally subjective and totally, people just deciding, what they want to express themselves in terms of what they believe. So that's all I'm saying. From a governance model, we just need some ground rules in place that are consistent and that are fair and make sense. I'm sorry, I want the other comments. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I disagree with your comments in regards to, I think that Commissioner Weinroth is completely correct. There should have been like no reason for us to have that meeting last month, because I believe that the executive director should have known that there should have been a meeting. It should have been scheduled. And we need to really, as board members, we have to make sure that, when we're scheduling these meetings, that we're aware of these holidays and that you shouldn't put those board members in the position of having to cancel a meeting. And finally, I think that the two floating holiday idea is perfect for the employees. So in that way, they can choose whichever holiday that they want to celebrate, they're able to do that. But however, for board members, we have other obligations, but you should never put us in the position of having to have a meeting and to have to cancel a meeting at all. Thank you.
Okay, point well taken. I don't know who was first, you or Joni?
I agree with Commissioner Weinroth, but I think it's easy enough to know when we set our schedule for the beginning of the year to determine whether or not there's going to be a conflict. And we could just have it the day before, the day after, the next week to avoid that. But I guess my question is more on calling it a floating holiday, because there may be some people who aren't religious and don't have a holiday they want to take off. So is it really more almost like 2 additional personal days?
And I would look to our executive director for some thought as far as, does he see some problems with calling it a holiday and letting people just request that day as their personal day off? Or would you like it to be in the vernacular of a personal day off? I mean, does that become cumbersome or a problem for you?
It's not cumbersome to implement this, the discussion that's occurring. If it's declared as a floating holiday that the employee can request in advance and that I have as the director, the authority to approve, I don't think there will be any issues with implementation.
Thank you, Nick.
So, I mean, in the city of Boynton Beach, they want to know whether the third night of Hanukkah was a religious holiday that we couldn't have a meeting, and it's, there's all different expectations. And so that's something I think this board should do, is to review the agenda for in January of the upcoming year for the meetings. And so, and my guess is, Nick, is that currently the TPA employees earn paid time off based upon their time here and
Sure,
other
based upon
aspects.
tenure. Yep.
And so I think what the vice chair is asking for is the additional 2 days of paid time off is with advance notice, correct?
It would function similarly, although the paid time off is earned on a pay period basis. So many hours per pay period are accredited to each of the employees. If it was declared as a floating holiday, then I would assume that the implementation would be, you have the ability to take that day off upon commencing employment with the TPA, as opposed to having to earn the time over a series of pay periods as we currently do with our paid time off.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I was gonna say, you do have 3 over here, 1 over here, and I do have Mayor Flores virtually.
Thank you. I would agree that they should be 2 floating holidays, and however you couch it would be fine. Our duty as a board is also to be flexible. So if there are holidays that fall within our normal day, we should be, we should have the flexibility to change the day we have our meeting. It is the same as, I mean, the Florida Association of Counties is 3 days in the middle of November. We don't know that exact schedule until, we don't know at the beginning of the year. So our duty as a board is also to be flexible to accommodate what other meetings and are going on, whether it's around the state, around the county.
Yeah, I'm gonna go real quick. This is setting a precedent for all of the agencies that we come from as well that don't have floating holidays for all of the various religious holidays. So I think that we ought to save some time. We've got some matters that we need to vote on, and it's already 10 o'clock and we've been here for an hour. And I would trust Nick to hear our comments that have already been said and take that back and bring us back a more defined proposal, the pros and the cons. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to make a motion that we table this item and bring it back at the December 16th meeting.
Second.
Aye.
Just want to make a brief comment. We wouldn't be having this discussion if we hadn't scheduled a meeting on that date. It was insensitive. I'm very appreciative that you guys changed that date. It's a high holy day.
Mayor, I'm sorry, your microphone's off.
Based on, I'm glad we did have a discussion about this, and it's clear we will manage this from a scheduling standpoint going forward, that part of the issue.
And that's all
Yeah.
I wanted to say.
No, and I appreciate, great feedback, appreciate it very much. There are no further comments. I agree, we should move on then with the agenda. All right, item 2.A is a motion to adopt a resolution approving amendments of section 2-2.2 of TPA's operating procedures. Okay. This is establishing something we would call the Executive Committee of the Governing Board. And I guess, Nick, you're going to give us an update on this?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Briefly, because I know we do have a lot of items on the agenda, but I think this is a very important question for governance of the TPA. Two things that motivate my proposal and request to you this morning. The first is that annually we do an update of our strategic plan, a review of what has conducted, how we've conducted ourselves for the past year and what we want to focus our attention on for the coming year. The practice of the TPA since I've been here and have established a strategic plan has been to create that review committee in May. And then the people who are selected to participate in that committee realize that they are supposed to have been paying attention for the entire year. The point, I think that we practically, I think it would work better if you knew in advance that you were going to be investing that time, energy, and effort in focusing and refining our attention on what matters. And so my suggestion is that this executive committee's primary role and responsibility would be to refine our strategic plan and the initiatives of the TPA as recommendations to the full governing board, not as approving authority, but as a recommending body that could spend a little more time and attention on what we've done and what we need to do next. So that's the primary request. The other conversation that I think is incredibly relevant is that as we develop this conversation about countywide mobility and additional transportation revenues, I need opportunities beyond the 9 or 10 meetings that occur each year of the TPA governing board, where we really, frankly, only get about 2 hours of your time and attention. So we have 18 hours together in a year to, in the sunshine, focus our initiatives on how to implement this conversation about additional funding, what projects would be involved. We've got technology discussions, we've got road capacity needs, we've got transit desires and moving people in efficient ways. Having an executive committee to gather people together who have the time to invest would allow me to vet some of the proposals that come to the full governing board and refine them so that these discussions go more smoothly going forward. Those are the two requests. Those are the two tasks that I've identified in the operating procedures. And the request is that 3 members would be selected. And the implementation, if approved, is that this would come before you in December when you have an opportunity to select your chair and vice chair for the 2022 calendar year. You would also select 3 at-large members of the governing board to participate in the executive committee for that coming calendar year. Mr. Chair, I'm happy to answer any questions that members may have.
See any cards up? Any questions for Nick? No? Do we have anyone remotely who wants to, from the public, who wants to make a comment on this item?
No, Mr. Chair, I haven't. I'm just double checking my side
And we
here.
have no advance public comments on this agenda item?
No,
Move to
Mr. Chair.
adopt.
Well, wait a minute. I don't have any public, let me close public comments. I have no comment cards submitted here, but if anyone here would like to comment, now would be a time. Seeing none, then I'm closing public comment on this agenda item 2A and
Move
we
to
have a
adopt.
motion.
Second.
We have a motion? I'm
Second.
sorry.
Second.
Oh, okay. All right, this is a roll call vote, March.
No, it's not.
No,
It's not?
no, you can just do a verbal vote to make it easier.
This is roll call. Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. All right, the resolution is approved. Let the record show. Am I misreading this? Because I thought this was for this. Okay, but there was no roll call. Fine. Item 2B, moving right along. We look for a resolution approving amendment number 1 to the TPA's fiscal year 22 to 26 Transportation Improvement Program. We're going to have Jason Price give us an update here.
Good morning, everyone. So today I'm going to present to you amendment number 1 of the Transportation Improvement Program for fiscal year 22 to 26. This is typically the first amendment is the roll forward amendment at a request from FDOT. In addition to that, there's a modification to Northmore neighborhood project for sidewalks. So first, before we begin to look into the amendments themselves, I just want to review why amendment comes before the board. The first one is when a project is either added or deleted, or the cost increases more than 20% and is a change of $2 million. Or there's a change in scope where the length of the project is changed by a half mile and 20% of the project, or there's a change in the number of through lanes. Only the projects that are included in the amendment are impacted by this action, and no other project is impacted by approving this amendment. Only the projects within the amendment are impacted. And so with that, I'll start with defining what is the roll forward and what does it mean in terms of this amendment. And there's a collection of projects, 67 projects totaling about $39 million that had funds in fiscal year 2021 in our previous tip and need to be rolled forward into the first year of the current operating tip that we have approved. And so this is just rolling forward those funds that kind of straddle 2 different funding years and are now in the current tip in total about 39 million. So the next few slides are just the snapshots of the projects that have about 500,000 in funds being rolled forward per project. And so this is just a quick snapshot. There's about a dozen or so projects that you'll see over 500,000 being rolled forward from the previous year in 2021 into 2022. There was 3 slides, but they're also in the packet as well. But moving forward more quickly, there's also included as part of the roll forward, there's a change request by FDOT for the Northmore neighborhood, in that there was 2 roads omitted from the description and the scope of the project. It was included in the project, but it wasn't registered in terms of the length of the total project length. So the total project length increased by over a half mile, as you saw on the first slides, that warranted an amendment to come before the board to make that change. So they included 2 roadways as part of this action. And you can see on the slide here, it's for 39th Court and Greenwood Avenue. And it's not just sidewalks, but it also upgrades ADA ramps at the intersections and to construct crosswalks at the intersections as well. This is just a quick snapshot of what it looks like existing in the current tip document, and this is what the proposed changes would be. You see in highlighted, there's design funds, which are the roll forward funds, and then the change in the length from 1.5 miles to 2 miles. And that concludes the presentation for this amendment.
Okay, do you have any comments? Cards up. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you so much. Just want to just thank this board for the prioritization of these sidewalks. And I recently heard from a resident who is in a wheelchair, and there was some construction going on that the sand overtook the sidewalk, and he would have to go into traffic to be able to go around that. So I know that this is a different situation, but just being able to complete those sidewalks so that individuals can have safe access is really important. So thank you for that. I also just wanted to clarify, Mr. Chair, maybe the legal counsel could just clarify, it's in section 2 that it states that this amendment does not affect or re-adopt any other provisions of the TIP. Can you just clarify that statement?
Yes, basically what it's saying is. Yes, basically what that is intended to mean is that we're not re-adopting any previous amendments to the TIP. Basically what you see here is what you're adopting.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for adding that. I appreciate that. And will be happy to vote in favor of this. And just for the record, want to reiterate that I am in favor of the amendment to the TIP and not implied approval of any State Road 7 or any other projects. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good.
Mayor, before we take the vote, I do want to just note for the record that Mayor Petrolia has joined us in person.
Welcome. Thank you. Okay, any other comments? I see no other cards up.
I'll make a motion to adopt.
All right, I need to clear public comments first. We have any comments provided or currently from the public?
No,
on
Mr.
this
Chair.
item? All right, I have no comment cards submitted here. Is anyone here who would like to comment? Seeing none, I'm closing public comments then for this agenda item, and now look for motion.
Motion to adopt.
We have a motion and a second. Now, once again, is this roll call?
Yes.
Okay.
So when I call your name, please remember to unmute your microphone. So Steve Wilson is absent. Yvette Drucker,
Yes.
Andy Thompson,
Yes.
Stephen Grant,
Yes.
Shelley Petrolia,
Yes.
Joel Flores,
Yes.
Jim Koretsky is absent. Christopher McVoy,
Yes.
Joni Brinkman,
Yes.
Catherine Waldron is absent. Chelsea Reed,
Yes.
Melissa McKinley,
Yes.
Maria Marino,
Yes.
Mac Bernard,
Yes.
Greg Weiss,
Yes.
Douglas Lawson is still absent. Michael Napoleon,
Yes.
Christina Lambert,
Yes.
Joseph Paduzzi is still absent. Robert Weinroth,
Yes.
Fred Pinto.
Yes.
It passes unanimously, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Let the record indicate. Moving on to item C is a motion to approve the CPA's 2021 Vision Zero Action Plan. We're going to have an update from Jessica Joshua.
Good morning, everyone. Thought it was just always on. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Jessica Jocelyn. Glad to be here this morning to present this very important action plan to you all. Just as a reminder for those that aren't familiar, Vision Zero is an initiative that actually was started in Sweden in 1997. And they've accomplished a 50% reduction in fatal and severe injuries and crashes. So that was their main goal of that initiative. Since 1997, this has come to the States. There are 49 cities that are part of the Vision Zero. And our state recently has undertaken what we call Target Zero. We changed the title a little bit, but that is really the whole point of this action plan that you all actually adopted previously. And this is an update too. So I wanted to take a moment and just pause. On the engineering and planning side, we really get into the numbers and data, and we really wanted to take a step back and remember this is about human lives. So throughout the document, we did highlight a few folks who have unfortunately lost their lives. I just wanted to note to this group, it's Steve Brown, April 2014, lost his life riding his bicycle on a shoulder. Elizabeth Stewart, 27, who lost her life in October 2009. Also riding her bicycle on a shoulder. Timothy Baxter in March 2017 lost his life crossing the street. And in 1996,
Dory Slosberg and 4 of her friends that were young adults lost their lives. Her sister is State Representative Emily Slosberg, who has made it a life mission of hers to help this cause. So I just wanted to pause and make that known to this group this morning. So as I was saying, you all have adopted an action plan back in 2019, and before 2019, there were elements taken place by this board towards creating a safer system. I'm starting in 2016 with the Complete Streets Policy, 2017, your Complete Streets Design Guideline, and 2018, you adopted your Zero Fatalities mission. So going back to the initiative of Vision Zero, we did want to take just a moment and remind you of the key principles that go into this. It's very comprehensive and diverse. There are 9 principles here. I know you have a packed agenda, so I won't go through them, but just wanted to acknowledge the comprehensive components of this effort. Looking at the data, looking back 5 years, at the top there, you see the fatalities over time. They are up and down, with 2020 being the highest of the last 5 years of data. So that, of course, is not a trend that we were hoping to see. In total, it's 887 deaths over the past 5 years and 5,395 severe injuries. Of that, 25% of the residents were 65 and older. We also, as part of this update, developed a high injury network. So what we did is, looking at all of the information for fatalities and severe injuries, determined where the top locations were. And looking at that high injury network, the most at risk were the older adults, pedestrians and cyclists, and traditionally underserved communities. Critical crash factors were Fridays and weekends during night, 7 to 10. And then a sampling of some of the worst streets were Glades Road, Boynton Beach Boulevard, and Okeechobee Boulevard. We did see a trend that your larger facilities with high speeds is where you're experiencing fatalities and severe injuries. Please note there were 240 segments on the network, so don't be alarmed that these 3 are, the ones, well, you should be alarmed with these 3, but there are many more beyond these 3 that we should be concerned about. Also, we made sure this Vision Zero aligns with your strategic plan. So any actions in your strategic plan stay in your strategic plan, and this Vision Zero will add to that over time. So of course, implementing and updating the action plan has occurred. You have an interactive comment map to collect information on any safety issues that your residents and communities are experiencing. Your agency has been doing pedestrian and bicycle safety field reviews. You've also incorporated safety into your project scoring. So where you're looking to give funding, safety is a factor you're considering, which is wonderful to be included. Also on any application processes, safety is always included. And then also you've looked to modify your committees to make sure that safety is also included. So there's been a lot of effort taken over time to try to go towards Vision Zero. So now jumping into the action items of the update, there are 3 categories. The first category is policy. So here the actions are to produce a Vision Zero annual report and proactively seek feedback and research latest best practices. We're suggesting in these actions to include safety changes in TPA legislation and policy positions, to identify target speeds for high crash corridors based on context classification. And what target speed means is we're going to relook at the speeds we have on our roads and see if they need to be adjusted. We would like to collaborate with partners to create a consistent process for displaying the safety analysis included in TIP projects. So anytime you're presented information from technical groups, that they always have safety information provided to you so you can make more informed decisions. And also very important, working with the school district of Palm Beach County to require safe walking, biking, and driving curriculums. So those are the action items in this update under policy. The next of the 3 categories is funding. So the 2 actions here is work with signal maintaining agencies to make signalized intersection crossings more pedestrian friendly. The second funding action is to evaluate safety aspects of TPA funded projects. It's actually 1 to 5 years after construction completion. So we did give ourselves a bit of room there.
And then the last category is culture. And these final set of actions that we're looking to adopt today is to provide reviews of fatal pedestrian and bicycle crash reports, including observations and potential actions. I know this is something that's ongoing now. To collaborate with roadway owners to maintain a detailed data inventory to provide more effective analysis of complete streets opportunities. So we want to have more information and better information and share it. To implement a Vision Zero media and public education campaign. We think this is very important to get that side of the equation. To host an annual Vision Zero workshop for local communities and agencies, just to continue educating and sharing with each other on the technical side, how to improve. And then last is to participate in a Vision Zero safety event, as well as other local transportation safety events, and to really encourage this interaction in the traditionally underserved communities throughout Palm Beach County. So that is, in summary, the action update. And Chair, I can't see you behind the screen here, but we are looking to get any feedback on those action items and hopefully adopt them, and we can go make some action and implement them to make our streets safer.
Who's first?
Okay, I'm not going to do my usual editorial on my feeling about Vision Zero. I'm going to move past that. And I like Target Zero versus Vision Zero, so I think that's good. Look, we understand that there are competing needs on the roadways. And in fact, I find it interesting when we talk about 3A later on about the target speeds for roadways, we're actually acknowledging maybe we shouldn't be going at the fastest possible speed, that we should be look at the lower possible speed that makes sense for the driving public. So I applaud anything we can do to reduce the carnage on our roadways. Obviously, Florida being the worst place to be a pedestrian, we need to turn that around. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. So I'd like to thank you for remembering Timothy Baxter. He was a resident here in Boynton Beach, died crossing Seacrest at nighttime, and was maybe a block or so from one of the crosswalks, and now it is a lighted crosswalk. The hopefully is that in the city of Boynton Beach, we have on our future agenda to have signal prioritization. The county is the one that controls all of our crossings, and so whatever the TPA can do to assist with that coordination, we'd love to be the pilot. I think the flashing yellow arrows along Congress makes a huge difference for the cars turning instead of just having the green orbs. And so that would be my comments, is that what can we do to make sure that pedestrians and bicyclists are a priority, and understanding if we make pedestrians and bicyclists a priority, that means vehicles will not be, and they may have to wait an extra 30 seconds or a minute. And then we want to make sure while they're waiting not to look at their phones.
I think this whole notion, we've had similar conversations as well, in working with the county to get some of these some of the signals coordinated better, and keeping in mind, maybe, you let people have more time to cross, and that may frustrate the drivers, but if we're looking for safety, those are the kind of things that we can do. And as mentioned, looking at speed, and maybe we need to slow some things down. That has to all be on the table as things that we consider to do to really try to, what'd you call it, Target Zero?
Target. Yeah, my experience is that you have the aspect where you're, from my personal experience, Boynton Beach Boulevard and Seacrest, where there are no cars that are coming and people are still crossing because they understand that the light has to cycle all the way through.
Right.
And they're not given a priority, and it's hot in the summer, and it could be raining, whatever reason it can be. So that's kind of my mentality, is that we're very excited in Boynton Beach for our complete street east of 95. And so we want to make sure that we give that priority to the pedestrians and bicyclists.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you. So if changing it to Target Zero makes it more palatable, let's do that, shall we? Because there should be zero fatalities or serious injuries from vehicular incidents with bodies. I think the most important slide is the cultural action slide, and I want to thank the TPA for starting.
The mic, is that her voice?
little bit wobbly.
Sounds hot.
Oh,
Hello,
okay.
is that
That's-
better? Thank the TPA for giving us these quarterly crash reports and for telling us the story and for remembering the people, because that's what we need to do. This board, we can sit here and talk for 3 or 4 hours and feel good like we did something. But until we actually see reductions and
Put a face on it.
we need to put a face on it. We need to make a difference. And we all know that if there's a road in our area that we care about, it's going to take us 2 to 10 years to actually change it. And that's a lot of people that can get
Unfortunately.
hurt
Yeah.
in 2 to 10 years.
Yeah.
So we need to push this harder. Like I said, target, fine, let's do it. Whatever the word is, let's get it so that where these crashes are happening, we can mitigate it, use the funding that we have the power to change and make a difference. So I am really excited about this and look forward to learning more, unfortunately, about these crashes so that we can stop them.
Yes, thank you. As a community that has lots of pedestrians and hopefully lots of bicyclists, and a commitment to trying to encourage bicycling, especially alternate full mode transportation. I really appreciate the TPA and this group's support for this. And I hear the comment and agree with it that if we're really serious about safety for pedestrians and bicyclists, that is going to involve some trade-offs, and we need to shift the balance. We are a community in South Florida that is very, very, very car oriented, and cars and people, when you mix those, the people tend to come out a bit worse. So I really appreciate it, particularly the idea of sometimes we're going to have to lower speed limits or change the crossings and pursue all the options. I'm very concerned that, and I think I've heard it mentioned here before, that this is a wonderful program. It's a great goal, target, vision, whatever, but our numbers so far aren't changing a
Aren't
lot.
trending in the right direction.
No.
Yeah.
So let's keep at it.
Go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Like many of my colleagues here, very appreciative of this initiative, and I wanted to speak about the culture actions, and I'm hopeful that many of us have already implemented Vision Zero in our municipalities, but I'm curious if in some of these items here, maybe for the public education or collaboration with other roadway owners, do we have goals within there of encouraging our other municipalities to adopt similar policies?
We haven't crafted the detail within those items, but we'll certainly make note of that recommendation. And I can imagine that won't make it to the list. So that's great to get that on the list now.
Thank you.
Any other? Go, yes.
I want to thank you for the presentation, and I echo the comments of everyone else. And I appreciate the challenges of a goal where your target is zero. Getting to zero is very difficult. But one of the things that I took away from this report is that distracted driving causes 10% of fatal and severe injury crashes, which is the same percentage as drunk or impaired driving. And we know that distracted driving is probably underreported because people aren't going to admit to being on their phones. So I think, not that I don't know that we can do anything, but I think there needs to be higher penalties and more of a stigma attached to people being distracted driving. We've all driven down Pickle Road and you've watched the people next to you on their phone texting or doing things on their phone and not paying attention. And you can tell when you're behind them because you can watch them. So I think there needs to be more of a stigma and a heightened penalty to people who are distracted driving because they are causing as many, if not more, accidents than people who are driving impaired. So whatever we can do to promote that and encourage that, I think we should work towards that as well.
So what we're talking about here is more rigorous enforcement of the law regarding that, because perhaps there isn't a level of enforcement that we should have.
I think 100% you need more of that. And I see it every morning when I drop my son off at school. I mean, even in the school zones, people are driving past the signs that
When I see
say,
it, I look around.
no
and
cell
see
phone zone, and they're all on their phones.
Cars in the area. I mean, it's like, yeah, you're right. All right. Anyone else has a comment caught up? If not, Marge, do we have any comments, remote comments from the public?
No, Mr. Chair.
No previous comments were submitted?
No, Mr. Chair.
I have no comment card submitted here, so I'm going to close public comment on this agenda item. And I just want to say, Jessica, thank you for a very good presentation. I think what's encouraging is we're starting to get some definition of what do we mean by vision zero, target zero? How do we get from where we are and how do we get the ship moved in a direction so the trend begins to change? And it starts with being able to define what are the action items and things that we can actually do to try to begin to address it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Motion to approve the TPA's 2021 vision / target zero action plan.
Second.
Are you back up?
I just wanted to follow before we vote or after, either way, the comment that was made from the gentleman from Wellington that and a very helpful pointing out that it's both about 10% impaired or on the phone. My understanding is there are fairly decent laws. Would it be appropriate for our board to put in some sort of a statement to, I guess, PBSO mostly, but that we really want to see stronger enforcement? Is there some way that we can put some at least mild teeth behind that?
We certainly can have an official outreach to PBSO, and Nick's going to look into that and come back with something for us to look at. Okay.
Thank you.
Could we have maybe a resolution drafted for our next meeting? And I know we're not meeting in November, so, for December, and perhaps some sort of a policy on behalf of the TPA. And I will again reintroduce to the motion to approve the TPA's 2021 Vision Zero / Target Zero action plan.
We put that in there. Actually, it resonates.
Second.
I can go with that. We have a motion and a second. Marge, we have to do a roll call?
No, you can do this verbally.
All right. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Please let Marge, let the record show the motion was approved. And thank you again for your presentation. Okay, agenda item 2D is a motion to review the 2022 program policies for funding applications to the TPA. Currently, there are 3 annual funding programs that we're going to get updated on from Connor Cambasio.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Connor Cavabasso. I am the Long Range Transportation Plan Coordinator here at the Palm Beach TPA. And with that, I'm also the State Road Modifications Program Manager, which is one of the funding programs that we have here at the TPA. So today I'll be going through the funding program policies as well as some scoring changes that are occurring for the next funding cycle. So quickly, though, I do want to go over some key dates. So today is actually the kickoff day for all 3 of the funding programs, assuming that the policies get approved today. The program application workshop is going to be occurring next week. So if you do have any projects that you plan on submitting, I do encourage that you send some staff members to that workshop. We'll be going over the application submittal process, as well as the scoring criteria and documentation required. We are going to be having some pre-application meetings after that, occurring from November to January, and those are required in order to submit an application. And then after that is the application deadline itself, which is going to be February 18th. Following that, we will, as staff, sit down, evaluate, rank, and prioritize the projects and incorporate those into the priority projects list, which we'll be bringing to the committees and board members, and that will be occurring in July. So these are the 3 funding programs that we have. You may be familiar with the Local Initiatives Program as well as the Transportation Alternatives Program, but we are introducing the State Road Modifications Program this year. And the 3 programs they fund very similar aspects to the transportation network, but through different capacities. So starting off with the State Road Modifications Program, that, as you may have guessed, focuses mainly on the state roadways. The Local Initiatives focuses more on county and city roads. And then the Transportation Alternatives Program is the more flexible and can be used on a variety of different roadways and even off-road facilities. So the State Road Modifications and the Local Initiatives Program both have about $20 million per cycle, whereas the Transportation Alternatives Program, although it is our most flexible, It only has about $3 million to go around. The minimum and maximum funding for each state road modifications has 500,000 to 5 million, local initiatives 250,000 to 5 million, and state road and transportation alternatives 250 to $1 million. And the way those funds come in, I think I lost the presentation there. So the construction years for those, the state road modifications program, it comes in at year 7, and that is for the new projects only. There we go, the standalone projects. There is an opportunity to tack on to FDOT maintenance projects, and you could potentially get those projects in a little quicker. The local initiatives comes in at year 5, and then the transportation alternatives year 3. And those years are based off of the new transportation improvement program that would be adopted not this summer, but the following summer for this new cycle. So there were some scoring changes for both LI and TA this year. So both programs add shared use pathways as a new bike facility metric. So it has been a pedestrian facility, but now it is both. So you'll be getting points for both of those. There was a mileage cap on the facilities for both pedestrians and bicyclists, and that has been removed. So you can potentially score even more points for longer distances for both ped and bicycle facilities. In addition to that, both income and underserved population indexes, which were demographic metrics in the past, has been replaced with our new traditionally underserved populations metrics, which I'll touch on in the next slide. So SRM, it is a, that's right. So SRM is a new program, but it does mimic the LI scoring system pretty closely. There are a couple of differences. First, it incorporates defining a target speed as a scoring metric, as well as including safety countermeasures. And in addition to that, it also, you can get some bonus points for doing that modification to existing maintenance project avenue, which I talked about in the previous slide. So again, if DOT has a maintenance project that they have coming up, we can do some coordination with, with us and also DOT and try to figure that out. So going back to the traditionally underserved metrics. So in the past, there was only really 2 different metrics that were used. And we decided to incorporate some more indicators to better understand the demographics of our region. So starting from the top, we're including racial minority, ethnic minority, and below poverty. And as you'll notice, there is a 1.5 multiplier to those, and that's because they are federally recognized EJ metrics. But in addition to that, we are also including limited English proficiency, persons with disabilities, elderly and youth populations, zero-car households, as well as low education attainment. And all of those combined equals out to be our traditionally underserved index. So that's really all I have for you today. I did want to, again, highlight these dates here. So again, the grant application workshop is going to be happening next week. That's October 26th. We did do an email out to local staff members in the different government agencies, but I do encourage you to encourage them to attend that workshop. In addition to that, I do want to again mention the application due date is going to be February 18th. 2022 at 5 p.m. And if you'd like more information, I encourage you to visit the Palm Beach TPA's website and their funding page there. With that, I do have the other program managers here as well. So if you do have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those for you.
Any questions, members of the board?
I just had one question on the map that indicated the new methodology for the underserved versus the prior methodology. Was there much difference in the areas?
I believe there was. I'd have to ask. I don't know if Kelsey is here, but she was the one that developed that map for us. I believe there was, every time you look at different metrics and even the updated metrics from the previous cycles, typically it changes things around, people move around. But I think including those different metrics did change the map a little bit. But I'd have to refer to her. I can follow up with you
Okay.
on
Yeah,
that. and
if
maybe
you
even
have a
provide
map that shows the prior methodology compared to this one, I'd appreciate seeing it. Thank you.
definitely provide that for you.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to echo Councilwoman Brinkman's comment. It would be really helpful to understand what these differences will make, if at all, if, you know.
Understand the significance of the differences?
Yes. And the impact on
what it
would do to the projects, how it would
How do
shift
we do
them
that? I
around.
don't know, but you'll see if you could address that.
Mr. Chair, I hear the question. And I think some of this is data driven. And so we base the metrics for the individual block groups in the census based on the data associated, the attributes of the people who live in that census block group. What we've done is we've recognized that a merger of, previously we were using a demographic component and an income component separately, and saying the combination of those two answers determines whether you're a traditionally underserved population that warrants more attention, if you will. What we've done is consolidate those two components into a single index, and we think it's representative of the types of populations in Palm Beach County that we should be investing transportation dollars in to ensure that we've provided a safe environment for the people who live in those communities. So we can show you the comparison, but we also want to acknowledge that there are two things that are changing. One is the equation that we're using, which is really just a consolidation of what was previously done. And the other is that we're updating the inputs for that equation based on current data.
Just in response, okay, I guess I wasn't sure by looking at the slide that if income was totally taken out of the equation. So you're saying income was included in this new, because I didn't really see it there. I looked like it wasn't in there.
Sure. So we decided to replace income with below poverty populations. So they're a similar metric, but we decided that's a better way to move forward.
Okay.
Thank you. I guess I'm still a little concerned because we are looking at changing our policy, that we don't know the impact of what this may, or what communities may be left behind or not included that were included in the past, and which new ones this is going to identify or in that change. I think it's incumbent, if you're going to change your policy, that we know what the impact potentially is going to be. I know in the district that I represent and a lot of the municipalities around here, there are impacts. I'm sure they're going to be impacted
Provide a
communities.
more clearer picture. The impacts, what the potential impacts.
Sure.
So you're suggesting that perhaps we get more clarity on the impacts before moving forward with a request for approval of the policy?
Yeah, I would, if it's not, if this isn't time
Is there a time
sensitive, that we
issue
be able
on it?
to have
Come
that,
back with that?
postpone this until we have the information on what the changes would do.
Well,
And so I guess I would make that in the form of a motion to postpone it unless you.
so it is time sensitive in the sense that we receive applications every year, and we need to make the application process known to people now so that they can create the content that will be submitted to us in February. If there's concern regarding the exchange of the existing approach to identifying traditionally underserved communities with this new consolidated traditionally underserved index, then I guess what I would ask the board to do is approve the program policies with the old traditionally underserved index approach until we can provide you with better explanation of what the impact of changing from that old metric to this new one would be. That way we can allow applicants who are, again, obligated to create applications on an annual basis, the certainty of the policies that this program will be using to evaluate their proposals, and give the board opportunity to spend a little more time with this particular component.
I'm in favor of doing the new traditional underserved index. As you can see in front of us, the different metrics that they're using. I'm sure that they're using the new metrics from the 2020 census to get this information. And so that's kind of my mentality, is that everything that you see there is included versus before, I don't believe everything was included, that what we see is included. So,
It has been expanded. yes.
and so I'm okay with moving forward with the new expansion. I understand that there may be some people or some groups that may be now not as highly underserved as part of this index. And that's kind of where we are trying to focus on the most underserved index. And by using new metrics, we are hoping to get there. Basically what this looks like is people who are of European heritage that are over 21, between 65, are not the ones that are considered underserved.
All right, any further comments? Joni?
I'm okay with that, but I would still like to see the comparison. I'm assuming that we probably haven't lost any ability in our area just because of our
Okay.
demographics. But I did have one question too. There was a couple of, I think it was Boca and the disabled had some problems with something. I didn't know, a couple of members voted against it. I just didn't know why, or if you can shed some light on that.
Mr. Chair, so the member of the disabled community is actually a resident of Boynton Beach who has limited sight. And the concern he has is with regard to shared use pathways promoting bicycle activities off of the roadway on the pedestrian and bicycle shared environment, because he doesn't feel as a pedestrian with limited sight that he is given adequate warning to negotiate the conflict that occurs between a pedestrian and a bicyclist if he's being overtaken by someone riding on a shared use pathway. So while we've acknowledged that is an inherent conflict in the mingling of pedestrian and bicycle activity on a curb separation from the roadway, the position of the TPA staff and the majority of the committee members advising you as a governing board was that the greater concern is associated with the bicycles being asked to mingle with high-speed car traffic on the roadway, and that we will do our best to continue to educate bicyclists with the expected behaviors associated with their using a sidewalk or a shared use path to travel. We also outfit bicycles with bells. That's one of the giveaways that we are fond of providing to bicyclists in the community, to remind them that they are expected to signal when they're overtaking a pedestrian or a jogger. And then again, promoting the means that we have to negotiate the conflicts that are inherent in our transportation network, and trying to make sure that we have properly addressed the ones that are most likely to result in fatal or severe crashes first, and then mitigate the other types of conflicts that occur in our transportation system.
Yeah, no, I have had a conversation with my representative, and he has had experiences where pedestrians have knocked away his white cane or have startled him. And so he's under the perception, because before, when he did have sight, he was an avid biker. And so he feels like, it's the most safe for only pedestrians to be on the sidewalks. However, based upon the data that we have, is that there have been no fatalities or severe injuries from pedestrians and bicyclists, only from vehicles and bicyclists and vehicles and pedestrians.
I was just going to second Mayor Grant's suggestion that very likely there was a lot of good effort in moving to the newer criteria. I'm all for seeing a difference map. I think that'd be useful. It might be helpful to have just a verbal description from the folks that worked on it. How different are they for our benefit? But I'd be in favor of moving forward with the newer data and the newer approach, knowing that we will get a comparison at the next meeting.
Okay. Any other comments? If not, do we have any comments from the public remotely?
No, Mr. Chair, I don't see any
And
comments.
no prior comments were submitted?
No.
All right, I have no comment cards submitted here, so I'm going to close public comment on this agenda item and look for a motion that's modified to indicate that we will be getting an impact analysis, I guess we'll call it, from the prior model to the new model.
So moved.
All right,
Second.
Is that okay? The way I stated it, he said so moved? Okay. We have a second?
Yes.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Please let the record show that the motion was approved as modified. Okay, moving along. We have another item here is a resolution requesting a timely submittal of FDOT's draft tentative work programs to the TPA. And we're going to have Andrew Eula.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to have a rather quick presentation to cover what the TPA staff has seen in the draft tentative work program from Fdot. And then I'll turn it over to the district secretary for you all to hear from. And then we'll have Victoria Williams with Turnpike.
Okay.
Our mission to collaboratively plan, prioritize, and fund the transportation system. This is really getting towards that funding portion of that mission. And you can really see that in our transportation improvement program development process. So it really all starts from product development. You just heard from Connor Cambasso talk about our 3 programs. Those really start with the product development. So we evaluate all those for feasibility with Fdot and the locals. You all then see a list of priority projects that you all adopt. And then that list of priority projects is given to Fdot to create their draft tentative work program, along with all the other Fdot projects. So that's what you're looking at today. And the draft tentative work program is actually a state mandated presentation for you all from the district to talk about the draft tentative work program. And in this, you're able to provide requests for changes, additions, or deletions to that draft tentative work program. Unfortunately, because it took a while for Fdot central office to get the financial numbers down to the district, they weren't able to provide the draft tentative work program to the TPA in time for the committees and the staff to do a full review of it. So you'll see our action today does not have a full endorsement of the work program. It's really just asking for that timely provision of it.
All right, so we're making a request.
Correct.
Okay.
So I'm going to go through our 3 main priority lists, starting with the state road modifications. You heard a little bit about what these programs are from Connor. 5-year target, about $101 million of federal and state funds. There is about $101 million of federal and state funds on that. We also included around $37 million programmed from the local initiatives pot of funding for projects on that. I'll talk a little bit more in detail about that. So some updates for existing projects. Our Atlantic Avenue project widening from Lyons Road to Jog Road. All the right-of-way is now programmed in there. We're still gonna have to fund construction in later years, but all right-of-way is programmed. Next is the State Road 80 lighting. And it's now funded in 2 phases. So it accelerated to fiscal year 2023. And part of that is with those local initiatives funds. And the second phase is in fiscal year 2026. So what you'll see is on the next slide for local initiatives is that some of the projects couldn't get funded in the outer years for local initiatives funding. Those were prioritized on the State Road 80 lighting. There are also 3 new projects funded for design in fiscal year 2027. Forest Hill Boulevard, Jog Road to Military Trail, Congress Ave from Lake Worth Road to Forest Hill Boulevard. Those 2 are closing sidewalk gaps, providing lighting for safety, whether it's roadway or pedestrian lighting. And then we also have some Boca Raton traffic signal enhancements that were submitted by Boca Raton. Next is our local initiatives program. So it's $100 million, 5-year target. And you'll see we have program in here is about $71 million. So the rest of that, it is meeting that local initiatives total amount we should be getting. But again, we're using a lot of that on the state road modifications. There are 7 new projects that are funded for construction. So last year we weren't able to fund all of our 2020 applications, prioritizations, but this year we are. So we have electric buses for Palm Tran. We have one-way pairs in Lake Worth Beach on Southeast Coast Street and South H Street, Greenbrier Boulevard and C2 Canal, pedestrian improvements in Wellington, ADA improvements in Royal Palm Beach, SFRTA passenger rail car for Tri-Rail, and then designated bike lanes on Prosperity Farm roads for Palm Beach County. The 2 that right now that we do not have, there was not enough funding for, are sidewalks improvements in Indian Trail Improvement District, and then Mercer Ave complete streets for West Palm Beach. So these 2 projects, we're going to ask them to reapply next year, and then they can be reprioritized with the new cycle for 2022. Next is the transportation alternatives, $9.3 million in federal funds. That's what we seek for a target. Right now, it's at $10.4 million in federal funds. 4 new projects were funded for construction: Burns Road from Palm Beach Gardens, El Rio Trail, Boca Raton, Grapeview Boulevard, and Keyline Boulevard from ITID, and then the CA Canal in Wellington. So all the ones that were prioritized were programmed. So that is all the list of priority projects that we have for our 3 main programs. And I just have some quick updates for other major changes that our staff saw, but you'll hear more from Fdot and Turnpike on. There are some major interchanges coming in to construction for fiscal year 2027. So that's the first time you're seeing these construction amounts in our upcoming work program. We have Gateway Boulevard, Hypoluxer Boulevard, Palm Beach Lakes Boulevard, and Woolbright Road. So lots of I-95 construction. And you're also seeing a lot of turnpike construction. So new ones to the program to add on to the other ones that are already going to be going into construction in the next 5 years. We have Glades Road to L38 Canal widening in fiscal year 2027. And then there's a canal stabilization from Glades Road to Atlantic in fiscal year 2024. And then lastly, what I wanted to mention is the new resurfacing projects that we saw on the state roadways. So we have 5 on the screen here for you, fiscal year 2026. So these are new ones coming up. And as we mentioned before, we really work with Fdot and the locals to see how we can enhance these resurfacing projects to do other types of pedestrian and bicycle safety out there to improve these corridors. I wanted to highlight a few here. The US 1 from Belvedere Road to Okeechobee Boulevard. That was originally scheduled for you all prioritized it as a lane repurposing project, but that did not pass locally. And so now there is going to be a resurfacing project on there. Hopefully we can still incorporate some of those safety and traffic calming in that resurfacing job. There's A1A from Ibis Way to Southern Boulevard in Palm Beach. And so A1A actually has a few projects in the current work program for resurfacing, about 4 or 5 of them. So a lot of resurfacing jobs are coming up on A1A, and that's a highly used corridor for bicyclists and pedestrians. So we're really trying to work with the locals and Fdot to see how we can improve safety out there. Other ones, South Dixie from RCA Boulevard to Dolonaris Road, Lakeworth Road, west of the Turnpike, and then Boynton Beach Boulevard, east of the Turnpike. That's all I have for you. And as I mentioned, what we have for the resolution is really just requesting timely submittal of Fdot's draft tentative work program to the TPA. And then I'll turn it over now to the district secretary.
Good morning, everybody. Jerry O'Reilly, District Secretary, Florida DOT. Happy to be here. Good to see you all again.
Glad to have you here.
Thank you. I'm looking through, but I see Commissioner Weinroth. Good to see you. So I have 38 slides here, and that probably depresses you quite a bit. You've been here for a long meeting already. So I will definitely go quickly. Pretty much most everything I want to talk about has been covered. Andrew did an excellent job covering the work program, and Jessica did an excellent job talking about safety. And they were 2 topics I wanted to cover. I will say one thing, though. I know you have this resolution about DOT giving you information timely. Let me just explain that a little bit. I see it a little bit different from Andrew. So Andrew did an excellent job, maybe except for that part. The legislature decided several years ago to experiment with start the legislative session in January rather than March, right? You guys remember that several years ago. There was reasons for that. They wanted to get back to their districts earlier. So now they do it every second year, and they formally adopted that. So that means that they start meeting in January, and the legislative session starts in January. So that means every agency, every state agency has to have their programs together and what they're going to spend their funding on for that meeting in January. That's our process. But the inputs you need to build your work program are still dependent on how much money came in last year, how much did we spend last year, what's the projections for next year. The Department of Revenue and the people who do all that, nothing moved in their dates. So on the one hand, the legislature meets, they don't meet in March, they meet in January, and we get the information at the same time. So people in central office in the when they got it September 1st is when they get the allocations. They were working overtime, late nights to get out to the districts what they could. My staff, several who were here, worked weekends, worked late nights, we worked with each MPO and TPA as early as a year ago because we knew this was happening. It happens every second year. And most areas were able to adjust their dates for us. So they suited so we could produce documents that your committees could see. Unfortunately, you weren't able to adjust your meetings. So it didn't work out. We did it as quickly as we could. We did it quicker than we normally do it on the alternate years. And it's worked out okay for most the other 26 MPOs in the state, but we'll in 2 years' time, it'll happen again. We'll ask you to adjust your meetings a little bit to suit when it comes. So if we can, that's great. So we'll be going as quick as we can. And this work program I'll present today, which really you've got a really good presentation on already. Those interstate projects are part of the strategic intermodal system. That reflects what was in the 6th year, moving to the 5th year. We still have not got that data from central office. So the entire strategic intermodal system, that program hasn't been fully built yet. When we get that, we'll send it to you so you'll see it. Hopefully they all stay. Hopefully we might get some more. Okay, I said I had lots of staff here. One new person, program management. So you've seen Leslie Weatherall in the past. Leslie has gone on to bigger and better things in the department, and Jessica Rubio is now Leslie. So she's in charge of the work program and the managing all our various programs. So this is her first year. So I'm bringing her here to observe and see what's going on, and not going to feed her to the wolves yet. So I'll go through the work program presentation. And we have Mark Magder from our work program office. He's been our manager for several years. Who else is here? We have our planning staff, John Crane. We have Sabrina, Christina, and we have one more person I'll introduce in a second. So we got our planning office, our program management office. I should move these slides because they're not going too quick. Okay, so I'm really glad our slide says target zero. So safety is, I guess it's no joking matter, but so the department has worked with the entire state to develop an updated strategic highway safety plan. So it's not the department's strategic highway safety plan, it's Florida's strategic highway safety plan. Most municipalities in the state are adopting Vision Zero goals. And they're doing that. It comes with a set guidelines, things to adopt, a program to do it, and it's well-established program. So most people are doing a Vision Zero. The entire plan for the state is the Florida Strategic Highway Safety Plan, and it's Target Zero is the way it's been projected. So it's a plan for all our partners, and your agency is right up there as good or better than any agency in the state as far as adopting the goals. And not just adopting goals and leaving it, but putting money into doing analysis. Nick working with his staff, you had an excellent presentation and working with the department. So that's going along really well. Why is it important? So Florida's roads, you saw your local people directly impacted. Every day, 8 people die on average. Every day, 49 people have serious injuries. Clearly one life lost is too many. An interesting statistic, though, over the data that was looked at to help develop this plan, which is 2014 to 2019, 94% of crashes nationally involve driver behavior as a contributing factor. So that's a lot. So the more we can influence behavior, the more we can improve. Anyway, I've talked to you before about the 4 E's of safety: engineering, enforcement, education, emergency response, all important. This new plan has a focus on that, plus they're calling 4 I's. So intelligent data, using data we have smartly and better to identify where we need to be doing improvements, et cetera, et cetera. And you're seeing the starting of that now. Innovation, better ways to do things, address things differently we've done in the past to try and reduce these fatalities and crashes. Understanding the communities and making wiser investments and investments in the right area. Emphasis areas that are identified similar to last time. You'll see them here: lane departures, intersections, and you can see that they have the highest numbers in fatalities and in serious injuries as a result of crashes. And this is maybe a small point, but worth noting, you know, and historically, we used to call them crashes or accidents. We call them accidents. So we don't call anything an accident anymore. It's a crash. There wasn't an accident. Somebody took a deliberate action and resulted in somebody getting hurt. But you see there the emphasis areas similar to before. Evolving emphasis areas when you look at the data, you know, safety in work zones, drowsy drivers, ill drivers, rail crossing, which we've done some activity on. Transit, you know, our plan is a lot around roadways and drivers, not necessarily transit and the other modes. Micromobility, scooters and that. A lot of issues with that. And then connected and automated vehicles. As we see more of them, what safety issues need to be addressed in their area. So preparing for implementation, I'll just go through these quickly. I believe you've all got copies of the plan. I did want to mention this a little bit because every individual can do something. And these are individuals and groups. And, you know, local governments adopt rules, policies that promotes procedures. FDOT continues strong commitment to improving it. Do it with our resources, making the right policies and leadership. And there's also one in here, although I didn't pop it out. Elected officials make safety a high priority. And you obviously have been doing that. You voted here earlier just to do that. So everybody has a position and an area they can work on. So one thing we've done as a result of this plan, and it's happening in most districts, you know, a lot of the problems, I won't say problems, but a lot of area for improvement in the DOT is better coordination across all the different departments. And, you know, one department might say, I want to make this improvement. Another department says we don't have the money, then it doesn't happen, but it's directly related to a safety issue. So we've identified a new position, the district safety administrator, who's going to cut across all of that kind of bureaucracy. They report directly to me, and she's here today, Katie Cares. So Katie, stand up. Katie has this role. She has counterparts around the state. Katie's job, she isn't responsible for safety in our district. She's responsible for making sure all those offices are responsible for safety and working together and getting things addressed. So I think she'll be a great resource for the TPA and the other MPOs in our district. And this is new. Katie's been in her position about 6 months. When this plan came out, this was one of the actions we took. And it's a high level position for us. So we're trying to put our money where our mouth is. You know, I put these up last year, and so that 2021 number obviously is not the end of the year, right? We're not at the end of the year. It's where we stand right now. And it's hard to know the influence the pandemic had on the numbers. Traffic for sure is back to normal. We have the same levels of traffic on roads, and it definitely dropped. If you projected some of these numbers out linearly though, I believe you would see that your county still has a great reduction in crashes, but there's nothing linear. Who knows what's going to happen in the month of October, November, and December with the holidays. But trends and this data and using it, which your agency is doing, it's important to be looking at it. Easy to see Broward and Palm Beach, you're bigger than the other counties. But I'll flick through these. You all get these separately than this as well. But the trends and bike and ped, hopefully it stays up because of, they will go up though. You can see where it is right now. And that was 70% of the year is gone. So they will, hopefully we can continue doing well. Let me keep on going here quickly. Stride, one of the railroad improvements, we talked about putting down these markings, enhanced signing. It's finished now around the state, and it's finished in our area. So they're all done. There's an evaluation going on right now of the effectiveness. So we checked before how drivers behaved. We're checking now how to behave with these markings so you don't stop where those stripes are. Part of what you agreed to earlier today in the rail. So when you go home today and cross that crossing that was open or was closed this morning when I came by, don't be tempted to stop where those white lines are, because if you do, a train could hit you. And that's the message we're trying to convey there. I did want to show you, you know, your planning body, you do a lot of work trying to get your projects funded, and then it's on to the next project to get funded. But at the same time, there's a lot of things getting built out there that are a result of priorities you've made or through the strategic intermodal system. So project underway, hopefully to end hopefully will end this month. So the southern part of the county, and this will extend the express lanes north. We expect they'll be ready to open for tolling in the next few weeks. So you will see that coming up just up the Glades Road. And then further north of there to Linton, well under construction, and this will be the first diverging diamond being built in our area. It's moving along well as a project. Southern Boulevard, I was hoping I was going to stand here and tell you it's going to open really soon. It will open soon. We've had a major issue with some of the equipment, and we're going to have to send it off and get some new equipment made. So the bottom line is the project, the bridge will start opening as a new bridge in about a month or two. Then we will come back with a new piece of equipment and install it, and it'll start opening again full time. So this was a manufacturing issue at the plant. So the way these things lift up and down, it's a big gear that rotates in a pinion, and they fit together. They didn't fit right.
That's a problem.
Manufactured really closely in a factory, inspected, brought over, didn't quite fit right. So, you know, the bridge is going to last 80 years. It's got to be right when it starts. So, so we're going to get one brand new piece. We'll operate it with the old one initially. Well, the old one, it's new, but it doesn't work right. And then swap it out. Not good. State Road 80, hope to finish in January. So coming close. And I'll put this up here. It hasn't really, you know, it's just starting. I mean, there'll be signs going up right now out in the Jupiter area, but the detour doesn't begin for a long time. But this is a big bridge in the area, and it will have big impacts on the local traffic. And then these are some projects that are underway. I think Brant Road was through your local initiative program. Clear Ranch Road, finished, new bridge. Again, I think these are all local initiative programs. We might have one in here through your TAP program. Swenton finished. Belgrade sidewalks, which is, that's, I think, TAP program, Nick. But again, lots of projects that you've worked on, and but they've come to fruition. As far as the work program, I think your update you got was great. One thing you didn't get an update on was you did get some of the statewide ARA money or ARPA money. You designated your ARPA money towards the lighting on State Road 80, which is great. The state got some, so there's a few improvements going to jump into the current year. And you don't see the current year because you're approving the program. So it's smaller work. This curve compliance is really going out to existing roads where they have curves, they meet standard, but we're seeing accidents happen there. So it's putting up the signing, maybe lighting, enhanced signing, and that'll happen throughout the county. And then there are two smaller projects that will move into this year. The tentative work program, you got all the highlights. So the interchanges from the strategic intermodal system funding, which we'll confirm back with your staff and give you what the final plan is when we get it. And where those projects are, obviously the lighting project's important project for you all, and it's funded now and in the program. And I think we mentioned the resurfacing projects, and that was great. Andrew gave you a good advertisement in your municipalities. If there's things you're thinking you're going to do, replace utilities, or you have a vision for that road, and it's going to be resurfaced, we got to talk like now so that scope gets tied down and how it'll get done. In the whole program, there's 232 lane miles. So if it's a 4-lane road, it's 4 times the length. 232 lane miles of resurfacing. So that's just maintaining the roads we have, but a tremendous opportunity to look at those corridors, make sure they're up to safety standards and all that. And then projects throughout the work program. So I think these have been already talked about. Obviously we fund, Pamtron was sitting here a little earlier. And Tri-Rail, you know, lots of talk earlier. I thought Brightline's presentation was really good. I'm sure you're all aware that you can get an Uber ride to and from the Tri-Rail stations today at certain stations. So they're not running the shuttle buses anymore after the pandemic. You know, they had to stop that, but they have an agreement with Uber and they'll pay free Uber rides within kind of the limits of where the buses went before. So it's not a simple circle. And unlike Brightline, it will stay free. They'll go to a market price later. But it's still a good service. People need to get to their end destination. So the more solutions for that. And Tri-Rail is already talking about what's the next version of this and how they get to the stage where people can easily get. So Tri-Rail, their ridership, they've made one of the best recoveries in the country for ridership after the pandemic, which is really good. So a lot of good things happening with that. And obviously money in the ports and airports, the state of Florida with 250 million of our ARPA money went directly to ports to help them after the pandemic. So that went around. So anyway, that was quickly jump through there. Any questions on the program or any issues in general? I did check with staff on that Dixie Highway. It came up earlier. So a gas company has a permit there. They have problems with their gas line. They have to go back out and dig holes. They're the poor patches you're bouncing over. They're just about finished. They should start resurfacing that road next week.
Those are temporaries.
Yeah, they're all temporary. Resurfacing should start next week. But this has been going on quite a while.
Thank you for the presentation. One of the things that I've been trying to advocate for is the landscaping improvement plan because of the Florida statute that Fdot needs to spend 1.5%.
Yeah.
The issue that I had is that it's in District 4, not necessarily in the location where the construction project is happening. I've seen a lot of wildflower programs. I saw a lot of stuff on Alligator Alley. But in Boynton Beach, I see that in 2027, there's $100 million project with Boynton Beach, with Woolbright Road and Gateway. And so I'd want to make sure that that $1.5 million of landscape stays in Boynton Beach as well, because the Fdot has taken away quite a bit of landscaping along the interchanges before. And one of the things that we're promoting in my city is an urban canopy. So I know that along, I think the Congress interchange or the Yamato interchange, they have a lot of sable palms. We're looking for the canopy trees to help provide more urban canopy in our city, especially along roads, because that urban canopy helps with the stormwater. So that's kind of where hopefully we can get the landscape improvement plan for the next 5 years as well.
Typically, you'll see the landscape get programmed right after the construction finishes. But I'll talk to the project manager of the Boynton project and make sure they're talking to you guys.
All right, thank you so much.
Mr. Secretary, thank you very much for your report. I know if Mayor Wilson was here, he would be singing you praises,
I doubt
having
it.
seen that slide. But we certainly are grateful that that's finally made it onto the road plan. Just a comment, and I thank you for updating us as far as the timeline. And as you may have noticed, the engineer for Palm Beach County had abstained from the adoption of this resolution. I intend to vote against it, and I would sort of counsel my colleagues here, perhaps we should defer or vote against this. I think it doesn't help our, collegial working relationship to be poking our fingers in your eye. Obviously, you're not the one who is creating this issue, and we need to together work on a timeline that will embrace the new realities of Tallahassee every other year having an early session. So I think that what you've presented here is very informative, and I don't see any reason to, castigate you for being unable to meet this timeline. Thank you.
I was just, thank you for the presentation. Also, I would echo, I'm from Lake Worth, would echo the comments from Mayor Grant. We in Lake Worth also are very interested in tree canopy, both for storm drain reasons and heat island effects. And I believe we are online for the the diverse DDI, that one.
Yeah.
And So I imagine we would, and I would like to reiterate the same thing, that the request for the 1.5% stay local to our community. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mayor. Mr. Secretary, thank you for being here. And before I ask my question, let me also say thank you. Some of these speed limit changes are happening without really a whole lot of advance notice to the public. The speed limit along Forest Hill Boulevard from State Road 7 to Jog Road had always been 50 miles an hour. It's a road I travel daily. All of a sudden it was 45 miles an hour and you saw law enforcement pulling people over. And I reached out to your office and asked if you could put a flashing sign up there. I would ask that you continue to do that practice just to give our residents a fair shake at avoiding a speeding ticket that otherwise would not have been a speeding ticket before that change. So thank you so much for that. Thank you for the street lighting on State Road 80. Thank you to my colleague, Commissioner Weinroth, who tweeted out the update on State Road 80 between Lion Country Safari and moving west. I was happy to see the night crews working the other night, but holy smokes, what a traffic line it was for people heading west, which really surprised me at that time of the night, the traffic backup that was there, but you had plenty of lights and it was pretty safe to drive through. My question, and I promise you, it's just a coincidence that my colleagues from the city of West Palm Beach are not in the room, but because it's in the work plan, can you give us an update for the benefit of those sitting in the room on State Road 7 and the extension?
Yes, so the latest on State Road 7 is it's a fully funded project. The plans are complete. We applied for permits with South Florida Water Management District and received the permits. And they were updated plans to change everything we could find to change to satisfy every issue that came up from the city of West Palm Beach previously. And we've talked to them obviously back and forth, but anyway, we updated the plans, did all that. South Florida issued the permit. The city objected, and now there's going to be a hearing on that early next year, I believe. And we hope to prevail. If we prevail, I said it, well, we did prevail last time, right? And then there was an appeal. So we'll go through that process and then we'll build the road. It's an important project for this body. It's an important project for the DOT to get built, and not because we want to build it. It's because it's needed for the region, and it's badly needed. So yeah, we're here for the long haul, but it's moving through the process well as it can be when there's like a bunch of attorneys in the room fighting with each other over it. But it's moving along.
Well, thank you for that. And one of my reasons for asking the question is watching what's happening in the city of Palm Beach Gardens with the development of Avenir, and their main entrance in and out of Avenir will be at North Lake at Coconut. And if we don't have another north-south route, that traffic, instead of going down North Lake to State Road 7, is all going to cut down Coconut through the acreage, and that road system in the acreage is not built to sustain that kind of traffic. So I need this additional outlet. And thank you to you and your team for everything you do to keep that moving along. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner? I know I've been quiet. With the presentation today, do we actually need a resolution?
Well, I'm glad you said that. I wanted to get to that point since you raised the question. But before I respond, I need to acknowledge whether that there are any comments from the public.
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I have no comment card submitted on this agenda item, so I'm closing public comment. But with that, it is my intention to ask this body to pull this resolution. I think we've had a good discussion, and we appreciate the Secretary, Mr. Secretary, we appreciate you being here today and giving us an update on this particular point. So for that, I'm asking for a motion to pull this resolution, and that we will work with
I will make that
FDOT
motion.
going forward. We have a motion?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Thank you very much. And once again, thank you again, Mr. Secretary. Go ahead. Yes.
I will see you Friday at SFRTA.
Mr. Chair, I wanted to acknowledge that item 2E, there were two components. There's the district work program, which is a substantial amount of money being invested in a lot of projects. I think 237 projects are in the district's
Oh,
work
you're right.
program.
Yeah.
And there's the Turnpike work program, which is a paltry investment of $1 billion over the next 5 years. And we do have a representative from the Turnpike to give a few highlights of the projects that the Turnpike intends to construct in Palm Beach County.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. My name is Victoria Williams. I work for Turnpike in South Florida, Districts 4 and 6. Florida's Turnpike mission is to help meet the state's growing transportation needs, ensuring value to customers and protecting our investors. We do try to manage the Turnpike system in a business-like manner, hence the word enterprise. With that mission in mind, these Turnpike projects will go over briefly, support the Department of Transportation's vital few core areas to improve safety, enhance mobility, and inspire innovation. This is a map that depicts the limited access facilities that the Turnpike system includes in the state of Florida. We do provide that means of travel in 6 districts of FDOT and in 19 counties. Here it runs through about 60 miles. There haven't been any improvements since we put it in, but we're looking to do that now. State Road 91 is the name of this. You see the many varieties of toll revenue collection that happens. The Turnpike receives its revenue through user tolls and concessions at those service plazas. We don't get any of the revenue to do these projects from any gas tax or other taxes. According to our bond covenants, the Turnpike has to pay for operations and maintenance first. This includes the cost of collecting the tolls. Then we have to pay off the debt on the bonds that we issue to construct these big projects. And I want to tell you, due to our high credit rating, we've historically benefited from some of the lowest borrowing costs in the toll industry. Then we'll reinvest that revenue into renewal, replacement, resurfacing, and finally, then we'll get into capital improvement projects. As I say, this is our vision and mission. These documents are in your handouts. So looking at these 3 slides that are coming up, I have it all on one map. It's in the handout and it's on page 17. If you're geographically orienting to these, this first map shows you the southern part of the county, and it goes through our improvements that are planned at the plaza, getting some more truck parking. You'll see a lot more details starting on page 9 of Palm Beach County's $1 billion. You know, there are several counties in this district, so Palm Beach County starts on page 9. The map is on page 17. Drainage improvements figure very highly in a lot of these projects, working very closely with South Florida Water Management District. If there are questions on the projects, please let me know. We have widening projects here, also at TSM&O, where we're adding auxiliary lanes. Coming up north of Glades Road, this is to address safety issues, which can be quite tragic on a high-speed facility when it backs up at an interchange. Also, the toll collection system is going completely electronic, so we're removing toll booths. I'm sure you've seen it starting, and more efficient operations at our interchanges. So here, the next slide is the middle of Palm Beach County. We're showing you widening Beeline Highway from State Road 710. That's a partnership project with the district. They are in charge of that, but we're going to have to rebuild the bridge. So we're looking at funding that there. The widening from north of Okeechobee to the Beeline, from Southern Boulevard to Okeechobee, and that service plaza up to Southern Boulevard, they're all in the plans there for our PE and environmental. We even have construction funding there. And the next slide, my apology, I think one of those slides in the middle showed you some of our other projects. This last slide will show you where you can find everything for the district and for the Turnpike. That website will show you all the details. You can download the public hearing report, and certainly we can answer any questions. I do also want to mention this year, for the first time, our summary of major projects document on the very last page does show projects that we are funding that do not include construction. In the past, we had omitted them from our summary. Palm Beach gets 3 of them. Adding lanes, we're going to do PE for almost 4 million. Looking around Atlantic, a couple miles there. Widening of the B line to PGA is being looked at with starting out with the PE. And then a new interchange is being contemplated at Hypoluxo Road. I also am going to point out Martin County. We're trying to relieve the crossover traffic at Indiantown Road in Jupiter. So to do so, we started looking, and it's a very constrained area. You move north, you've got a lot of environmental features that we want to be sure before we're funding that we're in sync with. You've got the huge Thomas Manuel Bridge. We're looking at possible rehabilitation there for our widening. You've got the beautiful Loxahatchee River. So we keep going north. It's looking like milepost 125, which is up in Martin County, but we still believe that this type of direct connection will alleviate local traffic road congestion and allow those that want to make the trip transition to use that instead of State Road 70 in Fort Pierce or Jupiter exit. So if there are any questions, please let me know. Stand ready to answer them. Thank you for your time.
I have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
The big metal things, are they plate readers or are they actually charging tolls that you keep putting down the turnpike?
Those are gantries that will do both. They're going to collect tolls from people using transponders in their vehicle, and they will document with a photograph the plate of the vehicle that passes under without a transponder. That toll is higher priced. We also are going to charge to send the bill. So we do encourage use of transponders. We've also become interoperable now with the Easy Pass. So there's 18 states you can use it in. There's not a fee to use a SunPass account. If you have that transponder, you need to get the SunPass Pro transponder if you want to drive north and use it in other states in the Easy Pass system, northern part of the country. But those gantries are going online so that we can redo the interchanges. So we'll reduce bottlenecks and no longer take cash payments.
Okay, and so those gantries, there's more of them. Are you charging people more or is the toll rate staying the same?
Well, toll rates are set by statute, and when there are new openings or new interchanges proposed, we have toll hearing rate meetings, and these hearings, that's a trigger. So what we're looking at planning for here is the system of charging tolls by the increments instead of where you get on and where you get off. So yes, there are some changes anticipated as we go forward with electronic tolling, and we hope to get our great staff in our public information office to help us distribute that when it becomes a reality. They're planning for the future.
Okay, but right now, am I paying more because there's more gantries?
No,
or you
ma'am.
just spread the cost out a little?
Spreading the cost out, and we're not allowed to charge a different rate than statutorily approved after the public hearing.
Okay.
Thank you. Great question.
I have a question. What is there any, I mean, when are we going to be able to use these devices to charge our tolls as opposed to having those things stuck on our windows and stuff?
Mr. Weiss, I really enjoy that you brought that up. It has been analyzed and we're looking at it closely. The Turnpike funds a facility in mid-Florida called SunTrax with an X. And this is an opportunity for vendors of electronic vehicles, connected vehicles, to have a test track. And we include the infrastructure. And we also want to know what infrastructure needs there will be so that when these vehicles, manufacturers propose letting us use our smartphones to collect tolls, there need to be some ways to make sure that not everybody's car, phone in the car gets charged the toll. It's the problem you get if you carry 2 transponders. You know, it's a duplicate toll and we can go ahead and help you with that, but it could escalate if we don't find a way to pinpoint which particular device is paying the toll.
That's a good point. But yeah, I think I mean, it seems like most people have them in their vehicles and it would be easy. And then you would actually see what you're getting charged as you're going along and it would, I mean, yeah. Good.
Well, I
I'm glad
appreciate
to know
that.
you're working on it though. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Mr.
And thank you for your
Thank you, sir.
presentation.
Oh, you're
Very
welcome.
informative.
You're welcome.
Mayor, I'm sorry, your microphone is off.
It keeps turning off on its own. All right. Another piece of business regarding the original resolution. The resolution to request timely submittal, we pulled that, but there's a part of the resolution that the secretary is asking for us to act on, and that is to approve the draft tentative work program. You want to explain that?
Mr. Chair, briefly, the state law requires the district to present the work program to the TPA governing board. Historically, the TPA governing board has responded by saying, thank you for this presentation. We endorse the work program as presented, or we endorse it with the following requested
Conditions.
modifications, additions, deletions. Our committees felt unable to recommend something to you, and we received the work program later on in the process. But the DOT has acknowledged that they were unable to produce it any faster than they did, and they're asking you, would you please be willing to still endorse the work program as they have presented it to you today? So the request is and we still do have a quorum of the TPA governing board. So the request is to actually adopt the resolution under 2E with a replacement of the text in section 2B. So instead of asking them to give it to us earlier, the resolution will say endorses the draft Turnpike and District FY 23 through 27 work program, which Margie has actually placed on the screen for you. So you can see the language and don't have to listen to what I just said. And so the district has said, that's our convention, that's our practice. Would you be willing as the TPA governing board to acknowledge that they did come and make a thorough presentation of the work program, and please endorse the program as it's been provided to you?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
I don't think we have a quorum.
So Chair Pinto, just for the clarification of the board, with Mayor Flores on the line, we do meet the quorum of 11.
I think we need to have a quorum present.
You allowed Mayor
approved
Flores
them,
to participate.
No, but I think the statute is clear. You have to have a quorum present, then you can allow people to participate.
Paul, you want to give us an update on that?
Lost our in-person quorum.
An in-person quorum is required to allow a virtual participant.
All right, so-
Correct. And under the modification to the agenda, you had approved him to participate remotely and to vote in the item.
So the question is that.
That
do
there's
we
no
have a-
physical quorum anymore here.
Yeah.
We've lost the physical quorum. So
So Paul, the key question is if the TPA governing board authorized an individual to participate remotely when they had a physical quorum assembled, can that authorization allow for this vote to occur at this
No.
time?
No,
You
we've
have to-
lost our quorum.
You have to have a physical quorum
Okay.
present at all times. So you can continue to meet, but you can't take action.
okay. So what do we do? Postpone this to next meeting?
Is there a time in which this has to be adopted? Can we post, because we don't have the meeting next month, so it would have to be on the December agenda.
Again, I think the board direction through discussion can be that I would write a letter with the content of the resolution in it. The resolution adoption endorsing the work program, again, is not mandated by statute, but it's something that the district staff would like to have as they present the work program to central office. I think this would probably accommodate their request.
All right. Is anyone not comfortable with that? Get this laid out? That he would write a letter?
We don't.
Our next
I'm
meeting is
afraid
December
we don't have
16th.
the
Are we?
ability to give board direction right now.
All right, so you don't think because we don't have a physical quorum, we can't even give direction? To the
Well, I
direct-
think if
executive
since we
director?
have,
No, correct. It's something that if the executive director has the ability to do it on his own, he has the ability to do it on its own. However, we as the board cannot give him direction. However, we can give him our input And if he has that ability, and it would have to come back to this board for us to approve the letter.
So what would our input be?
I don't know. It's up to, yeah.
Mr. Chair, I think I've heard, unless any of the members of the TPA board want to say, don't do this, I think I've heard that we can acknowledge the presentation and respond as the discussion has indicated.
I agree. I don't think I hear anyone saying don't in that regard in terms of just acknowledging it.
Mr. Chairman, is there a problem if we delay the vote till December 16th?
That was why I originally was asking, but that seems to be problematic, delaying a vote until December 16th. Or could we send a letter saying that we will vote officially at December 16th?
Good morning, or is it afternoon? I'm not sure. Don
Almost.
Crane,
We're just about there.
Planning and Environmental Administrator. We have to transmit the draft tentative work program to the Florida Transportation Commission on November 4th. So this is the key window that we always talk about, trying to schedule the TAC and the MPO board meetings all within this 2-week window of opportunity that we kind of foresee.
Yeah.
So waiting till December would not allow us. We have a checklist that we
Yeah, but-
provide to them, and it says,
But we're not going to hold you up from your submittal.
well, we will submit. We will not be able to say that our MPO in Palm Beach or our TPA has endorsed the draft tentative work program.
You could say that we did not unendorse it.
We can say that.
Actually, you could say that due to the fact that there wasn't a quorum in the room.
Yeah, I mean, there's a mitigating circumstance that you could.
That we cannot hold a vote is what the correct language.
Can we
Okay.
get one of our members to call in real quick and then meet the quorum?
I just,
They have to be
they
here.
have to physically be here. I just texted Michael Napoleon and said, have you left the building?
Okay. It's unfortunate, our meetings, this meeting obviously ran long and we haven't had a meeting in a few months, but I think that's where we are on this. Everyone okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. I think from here, thank you very much. I think from here we have with item 3, which is informational items. Anyone? Any additional information updates that anyone wants to give? Because we're losing it. And if not, if there's any member here who wants to hear a particular information update? If not,
I mean, is there a presentation for the fatal crash analysis?
Mr. Chair, we have presentations for all 3 of the items on here, but I understand that time is short and we're losing attention.
I would move to defer these to the December meeting. Is there a reason it has to be done today?
No.
I just don't see the utility at this point.
not only that, I'd like these presentations, the members to be here to hear.
Well, and that's part of my reasoning. I mean, it's a half empty room. Let's.
I don't think you can take a motion to move it because we don't have a
All
quorum.
right,
You
so
can't-
we
you
need
can't-
to adjourn.
You can't take you can't take any action. Now, the chair, I think, has the power to say, we're going to defer these items.
We're going to defer these items to the next board meeting and
To
hopefully we'll
December.
have, in December, we'll have
Mr. Chairman,
everyone a chance to hear it. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, let's split up how we defer these because obviously, Mr. Urin, we always face this problem of having a more than 3-hour meeting. We can never get through the business.
Yeah.
So I think we need to adjust our expectations on these cumbersome agendas.
Absolutely agree. We need to figure out how to fit it in the tighter box of sugar here.
Not to mention, since we had a question and the discussion about changing the time in which we start our meeting, that will have to be taken into consideration also.
It will.
Any other comments, questions?
If I may chime in.
Yes.
Of course. You're up. Yes, sir.
Excellent. So it was brought up today. I think it's been, we've seen what happens when the meetings go a little long. We're not able to get through, and then unfortunately people have other responsibilities. People like myself who hold office, but also have a regular job to attend to. So I don't know exactly when we start exploring what timeframes are best for everyone. But it would be more convenient for me if these meetings were in the afternoons, and if it runs late, I'm on my own time and I don't have to get back to work or clients or whatever it may be. So I guess when we're exploring, I think we got to keep that in mind, that there are certain portion of the body and this board that also has responsibilities in their regular job duties.
What time in the afternoon are you suggesting?
I'm not suggesting anything. Obviously, we don't even have enough people to vote, but I think.
Well,
we
we're
need
not going to vote today. We're just getting
Yeah,
input to think
I'm
about.
saying if we start this at 2 or 3 in the afternoon and it bleeds over into the afternoon, then, we have a little flexibility to stay on our own, but, some people may have, but then again, then some people here are parents and have to go pick up their kids. So it's hard. It's a hard compromise here.
Okay. Thank you for your input on that. Thank you. Anything else? If not, we're adjourned finally today. Thank you all.